Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Reincarnated into the sacred tree, I create a family of yin soldiers. Chapter 41. Ji Yang, who returned to the ancestral hall, was speechless. It seems that he overestimated these souls and made a wrong judgment. However, Ji Yang soon stopped worrying. The survival time this time was not short, so the harvest should be pretty good. End of deduction. You have learned a new skill in this deduction, gathering yin. You have learned a new magical power in this deduction, soul condensation. You have learned a new magical power in this deduction, armor covering. You have learned a new combat skill in this deduction, Teizu Chengquan. Gathering yin. You can actively change your life form and absorb yin energy. Soul condensation. You can spend a certain amount of life force to condense the soul. Armor covering. You can consume a certain amount of life force to cover the leaf armor with the soul. Teizu Chengquan. Huang level high-grade combat skill can be transferred 3 times. Looking at a series of prompts, Ji Yang was overjoyed. He didn't expect that he would gain a lot this time. He actually had a technique, 2 magical powers, and a combat skill. It is not difficult to imagine that these skills and supernatural powers are closely related to his deduction this time. Recalling the many living souls in the netherworld, if he could replicate them in this world, the Chen family would definitely become stronger. Finally, Ji Yang looked at the yellow-level high-grade combat skill. If nothing unexpected happened, this should be the combat skill practiced by the living soul who first approached him every day. In this world, qi and blood are the way, and are supplemented by combat skills. Among them, there are 4 levels and 12 levels of martial arts and combat skills, namely Heaven and Earth Xuanwang, which are further divided into 3 levels, upper, middle and lower. The power of combat skills can greatly enhance the strength of a warrior, and some powerful combat skills can even explode beyond the strength of the warrior himself. For example, the Chen family has been in decline for a long time. There is not even a decent combat skill in the family. Even the body-tempering realm warriors still rely on their own energy and blood, as well as some kung fu honed during hunting. Battle. At this moment, Teizu Chengquan has turned into countless knowledge, pouring into Ji Yang's mind. Regardless of whether it is the flow of energy and blood in combat skills, which veins to follow, or what techniques there are, Ji Yang has become proficient in them. At this moment, he is the master of these combat skills. Unfortunately, Ji Yang is just a tree now and cannot use the Teizu Chengquan because he has no hands. Huang level high-grade skills can only be regarded as ordinary combat skills, but if the Chen family obtains them, it can also improve the family's combat effectiveness a lot. The most important thing is that Ji Yang can still transfer his skills. Although the number of times is a little less, it is still pretty good. Ji Yang's eyes skipped over the combat skills and looked back at this new technique, gathering yin. This should be his biggest gain from this deduction. Absorbing yin energy may also allow him to quickly increase his vitality. The more vitality he has, the greater Ji Yang's improvement will be. I don't know how the effect of gathering yin is compared to a lunar eclipse. Ji Yang no longer hesitated and directly started the yin gathering technique. With the operation of the technique, Ji Yang's body slowly began to change, just like it did before in the netherworld. First the roots, then the trunk, crown, branches and leaves. In the end, Ji Yang's trunk, branches and leaves all turned into deep black. And as long as Ji Yang stops the operation of his skills, he can change back to his previous appearance. This is the transformation of life forms introduced in the exercises. After transforming into a form, Ji Yang's vision also changed slightly. At this moment, he could see things that he could not see before, such as yin qi. But when Ji Yang glanced around the ancestral hall, the expression on his face was stagnant. What about the yin qi mentioned? Yin qi looks like gray mist. When he was in the netherworld, Ji Yang could be seen everywhere. Even a few meters away, there was overwhelming yin qi, making it difficult for him to see in the distance, which also made him grow very fast. But after returning to the real world, Ji Yang only saw a small amount of gray fog in the ancestral hall. To what extent? Compared with the netherworld, it is probably a drop in the bucket. Based on Ji Yang's previous experience of absorbing yin energy, I'm afraid that even if he absorbs all the yin energy around him, he won't be able to increase his vitality much. This made Ji Yang fall into silence, and his previous thoughts disappeared at this moment. But then Ji Yang cheered up again. In addition to gathering yin, he also had the magical power of condensing souls. Condensing living souls, but before using this magical power, he needs to find a living soul. Ji Yang looked around again, but it was still empty. This was the Chen family's ancestral hall, not the netherworld. Where could there be so many souls? Wait, ancestral hall. Ji Yang turned and extended his gaze to the room in the Chen family ancestral hall. Right in front of the room, there is a trapezoidal wooden grid, and on each floor of the wooden grid are placed several spiritual tablets, which are the deceased ancestors of the Chen family. At the bottom, there are 3 brand new spiritual tablets, which are the 3 clansmen who died in the battle with the Li family. What Ji Yang was looking at this moment was not these spiritual tablets, but the pale white figures attached to these spiritual tablets. If it were normal, he would definitely not be able to see it, but now after the life form has changed, he can clearly see it. Isn't this the living soul in the netherworld? However, compared to the netherworld, these living souls attached to the spiritual plane are more broken, with broken hands, broken legs, decapitated heads, and holes all over their bodies. Even the color of their bodies is paler. Rather than saying that these are living souls, it is more appropriate to say that these are remnant souls. And the higher up the family's spiritual level, the more damage the living soul is, and even the top few levels have none. On the other hand, next to the 3 soul seats at the bottom, there are 3 living souls with clear appearances and dull eyes. At this time, these 3 people are wandering around, not knowing why. After finding the living soul, Ji Yang did not hesitate and directly activated his underground roots to drill out from the soil under the trunk. Ji Yang's roots were originally brown-gray, but now they are completely black, but it is precisely in this way that the living soul can be bound. Soon, he pulled in the 20 or so broken souls in the ancestral hall one by one. Although the introduction of the magical power was quite clear, Ji Yang did not understand the specific effect of this magical power, so he could only experiment at first. Ji Yang used his roots to grab a living soul, and then used his magical power to gather the soul. After using it, the living soul in Ji Yang's hand disappeared and his vitality was not reduced. This made Ji Yang wonder, failed. Ji Yang didn't believe in evil and continued the experiment. Anyway, these living souls had no memory and would disappear sooner or later. It didn't matter if he used them for experiments. Ji Yang continued to experiment, but failed 5 times in a row, and none of them succeeded. Ji Yang studied the introduction to the magical power of gathering souls again. Didn't it say that a certain amount of life force was required? If he didn't consume it, he must have failed. Could it be because these living souls are too broken? Ji Yang was furious. There were more than 20 living souls here, and he didn't believe that even one of them could succeed. Soon, every living soul disappeared from Ji Yang's roots. When Ji Yang wanted to continue the experiment, he found that there were no other living souls around the ancestral hall, and all the living souls had been used by him. This made Ji Yang full of disappointment. If the living soul cannot be condensed, then there will naturally be no army of living souls. As for the yin gathering technique, its effect was really poor. He absorbed all the yin qi around him, but it failed to increase his vitality. It can be seen that this technique has little effect on him. It can be said that it has no effect. If gathering yin and condensing souls are not enough, then the final armor covering will become a castle in the air. After all, the introduction above is to cover the leaf armor for the living soul. Ji Yang sighed in his heart. He thought he would make a lot of money, but he didn't expect that he would lose blood. The most useful thing was the yellow level combat skill Teizu Chengquan. The night is getting darker, and the autumn moon is like a hook. Ji Yang's branches and leaves flickered with light fluorescence again. But just when Ji Yang was about to absorb the moonlight, he suddenly discovered that there seemed to be something extra on his branches and leaves. Wait, where did these more than 20 green fruits come from? Looking at the extra fruits on the branches and leaves, Ji Yang thought he had seen a ghost. When Ji Yang carefully counted the fruits on his branches and leaves, he was suddenly startled. Isn't this the number of living souls he had just absorbed? Therefore, the magical soul gathering just now did not fail, but was successful. And these living souls did not disappear, but turned into green fruits on their own branches. At this time, these green fruits were only the size of a grain of blood rice, but Ji Yang could clearly feel that they were growing rapidly. After thinking about the introduction of magical powers, Ji Yang's heart tightened. It's broken, his life force. When Ji Yang opened the panel again, the original vitality of 30.4 was actually reduced by 0.2 to only 30.2. These vitalities are his foundation, so Ji Yang will never remember it wrong, even if it is just a decimal point. That's not all. The most important thing is that when Ji Yang was observing, his vitality was reduced by 0.1. It can be seen that these growing green fruits are consuming their own vitality all the time. If this continues, how much life force will these green fruits consume? Ji Yang was a little unsure, but he didn't act rashly for a moment. He could remove these green fruits one by one, thinking that would not consume his vitality, but this represented the success of the soul-gathering magical power, and there were few souls around. If the green fruits were removed, the magical power would definitely fail. What's more, although their vitality is decreasing, the growth rate of these green fruits is quite fast. After thinking for a moment, Ji Yang no longer worried. He now has 30 points of vitality, and after 5 times the deduction, he still has 54 points of vitality in blood, which can be converted into more than 20 points of life. In addition, he can absorb the moonlight every night. How much of his life force can these green fruits consume? In this case, it is better to see what this green fruit can grow into in the end. The appearance of Qingguo also made Ji Yang not rush to cancel the yin gathering technique. He was worried that the change in life form would make the magical power ineffective. Of course, the more important reason is that he found that he could operate both Yinju and lunar eclipse at the same time, without conflict between the two. The yin qi gradually becomes stronger at night, and the yin qi absorbed by Ji Yang gradually becomes more and more. Although the vitality has not increased due to the increase of yin qi, Ji Yang can feel that the green fruits on the branches and leaves are growing faster due to the gathering of yin qi. The night was sultry, but on the trail 10 miles away from the Li family, there was a chilling atmosphere. In the middle of the trail, dozens of people were trapped in place. These were all members of the Li family. But if you look closely, you can find that there are no young people among the dozens of people, but mostly old people, women and children. Surrounding them is the Chen family who sent out family warriors today. Clan leader, Li Yongcheng, Li Keiliang, and the remaining warriors of the Li family have not been found. On the side, Chen Tianyu said solemnly. During the family sacred tree ceremony, most of the clan members had already sent out to search for information about the remaining members of the Li family. A few days after the sacred tree festival, the family soon made a discovery and found the hiding place of the Li family. However, Chen Xingzhen was not in a hurry to take action at that time. Although the Li family's situation was over, the remaining people had to be careful about their counterattack. After the sacred tree sacrifice, the clan members were blessed by the sacred tree. Not only did their injuries recover, but their confidence also greatly increased, which was perfect for the complete elimination of the Li family. So he personally led people to chase him. But I never expected that the team discovered this time was just ordinary people from the Li family. As expected of the current leader of the Li family, he actually gave up most of the clan. He is indeed courageous, Chen Xingzhen said with a hint of admiration in his eyes. But the more such an enemy he is, the more he doesn't want to let it go. If the Li family is not completely eliminated, I am afraid that the family will still be in crisis in the future. Send people to continue searching and expand the scope. Chen Xingzhen issued the order again. Chief, what should we do with these people? Chen Tianyu asked, pointing to the other members of the Li family who were looking panicked and fearful. Kill them all. Listening to the chilling voice coming from Chen Tianzhen's mouth, Chen Tianyu's heart skipped a beat and he said hurriedly. Clan leader, most of these people are just old, weak, sick and disabled. They do not pose a great threat to the family. In my opinion, it is better to expel them from the mass burial mountain. Tianyu, you must not be merciful. These people seem to be no threat, but their relatives are all members of the Li family. Once given the chance, they will never let go of their hatred because of your kind deed today. Family wars are no child's play. If the Li family wins this time, how many members of the Chen family do you think will be left? Listening to the heavy words in his ears, Chen Tianyu murmured. But But the next words were never spoken. He also understood that the family war was not a war between one or two people, but involved the entire family. But he really couldn't bear it. You go back first, let Tianjing take care of the things here. Okay. Looking at Chen Tianyu's leaving figure, Chen Xingzhen sighed. Tianyu has a stable character, doesn't panic when encountering big problems, and is better able to make suggestions, but in this regard, he is a little too kind-hearted. He is old, and although he is now in the late stage of the blood coagulation realm, the decline in blood and energy still makes him somewhat unable to do what he wants. Especially this family crisis has taken a lot of energy out of him. Even if you get treatment from the sacred tree, it can't make up for it. Unless he breaks through the innate realm and integrates the qi, blood, muscles and bones in his body, his lifespan can be extended for several decades. But the innate realm is so difficult that he has no chance. After the Li family is completely dealt with, he should also consider who will succeed the next patriarch. However, it is too early to think about this matter now. It will not be too late to wait until the Li family is solved. The last time he was treated by the sacred tree, he still had 10 years to live. 10 years is enough time, I think. Chen Xingzhen turned and left, turning a deaf ear to the sounds coming from behind him. Clan leader, many clan members are injured, can you stop and take a rest? In the mass burial mountain, a Li clan member with tattered clothes and a tired face asked Li Yongcheng behind him. No, keep walking. We have to walk another 20 miles tonight. I'll go ahead and clear the way later. Li Yongcheng said decisively after breaking up, and at the same time carefully looked around. It had been 2 days since they left the family and entered the mass burial mountain. However, in these 2 days, they had only walked less than 100 miles, not even 1/5 of the distance of the mass burial mountain. And the reason's needless to say. The terrain of Mass Burial Mountain is complex, with rugged roads, thorns and ferocious beasts. The closer to the center of the Mass Burial Mountain, the higher the level of the ferocious beast. Although the group of 20 or so people are all the younger generation of the family, and there are many warriors in the early stages of the body tempering realm, they have no experience of going deep into the Mass Burial Mountain. The harsh environment and many other factors made their progress slow. But Li Yongcheng looked determined and did not give up because of the difficulties on the road. There are many roads leading to the outside of the Mass Burial Mountain, but when he was discussing the escape route with Li Keiliang, he excluded all other paths and chose to cross the Mass Burial Mountain to avoid being pursued by the Chen family. Kill. As for other members of the family, if they were brought along, it would most likely affect the entire family, so he had no choice but to give up. The Chen family would never have guessed that they would cross the Mass Burial Mountain, right? Even if they knew it, they might not dare to send people to hunt them down. After all, the Chen family did not have many blood coagulation realm warriors. But considering other factors, the family still needs to leave the mass grave as soon as possible. This is also the family's only chance. As long as they can safely leave the Mass Burial Mountain, with the remaining warriors in the family, they can start anew and revive the family. In the past, the ancestors of the Li family were able to build the current Li family alone, but now that the family's conditions are better, he, Li Yongcheng, can do the same. The current difficulties at Mass Burial Mountain happen to be the cornerstone for training the younger generation of the family. Clan leader, there is something wrong with the sacred tree. The next day, before Chen Xingzhen could even walk out of the room, he heard the panicked shouts of his tribe members. He came home at midnight yesterday and wanted to take a rest. But after hearing that there was something wrong with the sacred tree, Chen Xingzhen panicked and rushed towards the family ancestral hall without stopping. Today's sacred tree is the key to the family's rise, and there must be no problems. When Chen Xingzhen arrived at the ancestral hall, many tribesmen had gathered under the sacred tree. At this moment, these tribesmen looked panicked and kept whispering about something, but they did not dare to get too close. Chen Xingzhen's heart sank slightly when he saw this. If there was a problem with the family's sacred tree now, it would definitely be a fatal blow to the family. Everyone give way, the patriarch is here. Seeing Chen Xingzhen's arrival, many clan members stopped talking and made way for them. Chen Xingzhen's eyes were calm as he slowly approached the sacred tree. He is the patriarch of the family and the core pillar of the family. Even if he wants to run over to check at this moment, he still has to show a calm and natural expression on his face. Even so, Chen Xingzhen couldn't help but accelerate slightly. When Chen Xingzhen walked under the sacred tree, he finally saw the current situation of the sacred tree clearly. I saw that the sacred tree that was full of vitality before was now undergoing huge changes. Not only did the trunk of the tree turn into a deep black, but even the branches and leaves were not spared. This situation made Chen Xingzhen feel chilled. Is there really something wrong with the sacred tree? But as the leader of the clan, why didn't he receive any notification from the sacred tree? By the way, yesterday he was busy tracking down the Li family and returned home at midnight before he could come over. Chen Xingzhen felt regretful, but at this moment he suddenly discovered that on the branches of the sacred tree, there were dozens of light green fruits as big as a thumb. This discovery made Chen Xingzhen look shocked. The family sacred tree actually bears fruit. In the past, he had heard from his family elders that the fruiting of a sacred tree was often an opportunity for the clan to bear fruit when the sacred tree matured. It is said that the family sacred tree of that year also bloomed and bore fruit, bringing great improvement to the family. Unfortunately, he was still young at that time and rarely had the opportunity to enter the ancestral hall, and he had never seen such a scene. And he heard that it would take anywhere from a few months to a few years for the sacred tree to bear fruit. But now, it's too fast, right? Chen Xingzhen was a little unsure. At this time, the tribesmen behind him saw that Chen Xingzhen had been silent for a long time and began to discuss in low voices again. Quiet, no noise in the ancestral hall. Chen Xingzhen interrupted the discussion among the tribesmen, then turned around and said, "The family's sacred tree breeds the sacred fruit, so it changes. This is the family's chance. You don't have to worry." After hearing Chen Xingzhen's explanation, everyone's expressions relaxed, and when they looked at the sacred fruit on the tree, there was a trace of expectation in their eyes. They didn't know what kind of fruits the family's sacred tree could grow, and they were very curious. After settling the matter, Chen Xingzhen quickly left the ancestral hall. According to his observation just now, there is no worry about the vitality of the sacred tree, but some changes have occurred in various aspects. But regarding the fruiting of the sacred tree, he still needs to go back and look through some of the family's remaining information to see what's going on. He also thought about temporarily closing the ancestral hall and prohibiting the tribesmen from worshipping. However, considering that the Sacred Tree Festival has just begun, in order to gather the faith of the tribe and enhance the cohesion of the tribe, it is not appropriate to close the ancestral hall. Furthermore, doesn't this tell the tribe that something is really wrong with the sacred tree? Since there is no early warning from the sacred tree, it means that these changes are normal. But then, Chen Xingzhen sent 2 people to pay attention to the situation of the sacred tree. If there were other changes in the sacred tree, he would immediately tell him. After returning to the room, Chen Xingzhen began to look through the remaining information on the Qi clan. The fruiting of the sacred tree also caused quite a stir in the clan, causing many clan members to go to the ancestral hall to worship every day and to see what the fruit of the sacred tree looked like. Since Li Yongcheng and others were not found, most of the warriors in the family had not returned yet and were unaware of the changes in the sacred tree. On the second day after the sacred tree bore fruit, everyone went to watch it again. Then they were surprised to find that the fruit that was only as big as a thumb yesterday had grown a lot today and was already half the size of an egg. The color of the green fruit was also changing to grayish-white. Such a rapid growth rate makes everyone feel in awe. It is indeed the family sacred tree. On the third day, the green color of the fruit has faded and turned completely off-white. And in the middle of the gray-white fruit, there are some raised spots, as if something is gestating from them. However, this did not affect the observation and awe of the tribe, but instead they were full of expectations. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang also stared at these growing fruits, thoughtfully in his heart. These fruits have consumed 12 points of his vitality in just 3 days, an average of 4 points per day. In other words, all the vitality he had gained from absorbing the moonlight in the past 3 days was finally turned into the nutrients of these fruits, and he had to lose 1.6 vitality every day. Even so, Ji Yang still didn't take any measures. He could feel that the fruit would be ripe in a few days. He also wanted to see what the fruit would look like after using his soul-gathering magical power. On the 4th day of fruit growth, the spots that appeared before gradually took shape. They grew out from one side of the fruit, making the fruit, which was almost as big as a fist, look a little ugly. Many family members were even more surprised after seeing this. At this time, Chen Xingzhen, as the family patriarch, was still looking through the remaining information of the family, trying to find out the answer to the result of the sacred tree. As for the fruit of the sacred tree growing day by day in the past few days, he had heard about it, but he did not go to check it in person. On the night of the fourth day, the moonlight shone brightly. Ji Yang absorbed the moonlight and the yin energy while looking at the fruit on his body that had gradually turned pale white. At this time, the ginkgo is already as big as a fist, and its shape is more distinct and layered. And when Ji Yang looked at these ginkgo fruits again, he felt something bad in his heart. In the first 2 days, the fruit was still small, and the spots were not prominent. It was hard to see anything. But as the ginkgo grew in the past 2 days, the spots on the fruit became more obvious. Late at night, Ji Yang took advantage of the moonlight to look at these ginkgo fruits again. But you don't know it by looking at it, you will be shocked when you look at it. At some point, the spots on these ginkgo fruits had turned into human facial features, and the fist-sized ginkgo fruits had turned into their heads at this moment. The human faces on the ginkgo have different shapes. Their eyes are closed, as if they are still waiting for the ginkgo to ripen. Looking from a distance, the dark sacred tree has disappeared in the dark night, with only its fluorescent leaves shining in the moonlight. What makes people feel shocked and horrified is that under the countless shining leaves, there are dozens of fruits with facial features. Under the reflection of the moonlight, these fruits reveal their depth. Fortunately, there was no one in the ancestral hall, otherwise he would have been shocked by the scene. After Ji Yang was surprised, his heart returned to normal. It's not like he has never seen fruits with facial features, such as the ginseng fruit. However, it was difficult for Ji Yang to accept that it grew from his own body. He can be regarded as the family's sacred tree, representing the glory of the family. Looking at it now, he looks more like a demon tree, and the Chen family is an evil slave who worships his own demon tree. Ji Yang shook his head secretly in his mind, getting rid of this irrelevant thought in his mind. In fact, Ji Yang had already guessed that this fruit looked like this. After all, this fruit grew because of his use of the soul-gathering magical power. Obviously, it was related to the souls in the previous ancestral hall. The appearance of 3 of the fruits were clearly those of the 3 members of the clan who had just died in the battle. Perhaps after the fruit matures, this soul-gathering magical power can be considered completed. I don't know the difference between these fruits that have been transformed once and the souls that were born in the netherworld before. Even though it was a bit unpleasant, Ji Yang still had expectations in his heart. I just don't know what kind of wave the Chen family will make tomorrow. Fortunately, several blood coagulation realm warriors in the family have not returned yet, and only Chen Xingzhen is in the clan, so he does not have to worry about being chopped by his clansmen with swords. The next day, it was dawn. Chen Qingsong held a broom in his hand, pushed open the door of the ancestral hall, and began to sweep away the small amount of dust in the ancestral hall. The family ancestral hall represents the face of the family, not to mention that now there is a sacred tree, which of course must be swept away every day. After the sacred tree festival, many tribesmen wanted to exchange jobs with him, but of course he refused. Now that the sacred tree has appeared, how could he miss such a good opportunity? Maybe he is destined to the family's sacred tree and can get the blessing of the sacred tree. This is what the clan leader said. As long as you are in awe, you will have a chance to be blessed by the sacred tree. Halfway through the sweep, Chen Qingsong walked towards the sacred tree, preparing to worship again. While he was worshipping, he took a peek at the fruits of the sacred tree. The patriarch said that you should not look directly at the sacred tree on weekdays. This is a great disrespect for the sacred tree. While worshipping, Chen Qingsong looked towards the sacred tree above. But the next moment, Chen Qingsong's face showed fear, and his body froze. In his line of sight, a ginkgo with facial features was hanging quietly on a branch. Although the ginkgo's eyes were closed tightly, he felt that the ginkgo seemed to be looking at him and looking at him. Such a sight frightened him so much that his heart suddenly tightened. When he turned around to look at the entire sacred tree, he immediately discovered that the tree was covered with white fruits with human faces. Seeing this scene, Chen Qingsong could no longer suppress the fear in his heart and hurriedly ran outside, shouting at the same time. What happened? Chen Qingsong's shout quickly attracted many tribesmen to come to check. Cousin, Ancestral Hall, Sacred Tree. After seeing the visitor, Chen Qingsong pointed to the Ancestral Hall with some horror. After hearing this, everyone stopped delaying, thinking that an enemy had entered the Ancestral Hall and wanted to destroy the family sacred tree. After arriving at the Ancestral Hall, everyone found no one else, and immediately looked at the family sacred tree. Ah, what is this? Hiss. Why do these fruits grow like this? ... Seeing today's ginkgo, the clan members were shocked in the crowd. Even if it is a family sacred tree, many clan members are still panic-stricken at this moment, because this is simply a greater impact than the innate level ferocious beasts on them. When someone left the Ancestral Hall, they went to report Chen Xingzhen. But after all, it was a family sacred tree. Although everyone was frightened, they did not retreat. After looking carefully, a tribesman frowned as he looked at the ginkgo on the tree. Why did he feel that the faces on these ginkgo looked familiar? At this time, a flash of light flashed in his eyes, and he hurriedly pulled another tribesman aside and said, "Tianquan, look at that fruit, does it look like your father?" Chen Tianquan on the side was originally frightened because of the scene in front of him, but after hearing these words, his expression suddenly changed. He lost his father when he was young, which was a pain in his heart. How could he tolerate his tribe making such a joke now? He immediately said angrily, "Why didn't you say he was your father?" "No, Tianquan, I didn't scold you, please look carefully. It's the one hanging on the far right branch of the sacred tree." Seeing that the tribesman's expression was sincere and not like he was joking, Chen Tianquan held back his anger and looked in the direction he pointed. When he saw the unattractive fruit in the branch, Chen Tianquan's anger disappeared, his eyes were filled with surprise, and he exclaimed, "Father, it's really my dad." The shouts coming from Chen Tianquan's mouth also made others stunned. When they took a closer look at the faces on those ginkgo fruits, they all looked shocked. "That's great uncle. That seems to be my uncle. That fruit looks a bit like my grandfather. Why did my dad hang up on the tree? Woohoo!" The crowd was noisy and restless, and countless tribesmen came to recognize their relatives after hearing the news. Although there are spiritual tablets in the family ancestral hall, there are no portraits of the deceased family elders. Nowadays, seeing things and thinking about people makes it difficult for many clan members to calm down. "What did you say?" In the room, Chen Xingzhen stood up quickly and looked at the tribesmen in front of him. "Chief, go and have a look. Those fruits are so unusual. I didn't dare to look at them." After receiving confirmation from his clansmen, Chen Xingzhen immediately quickened his pace and rushed towards the ancestral hall. Obviously, the tribe just came to report yesterday that everything was normal in the sacred tree. Why did such a big change happen early this morning? In the past few days, he checked the remaining family information and found a little information about the fruits of the family's sacred tree, but the descriptions were completely different from the fruits on the sacred tree today. This made him feel increasingly uneasy, and it seemed to be coming true today. Unfortunately, the old family elders are now buried, and he cannot tell the reason for this situation from other members of the family. In addition, when his family moved here, they accidentally cut off the secret technique of communicating with the sacred tree, so he was unable to get specific information from the sacred tree. Before Chen Xingzhen reached the ancestral hall, the cries of many tribesmen could be heard in his ears. He was still shouting words like, "Uncle, grandfather." This made Chen Xingzhen frown even more. What on earth happened here? "Hurry up, the patriarch is here, the patriarch is here." The arrival of Chen Xingzhen made many tribesmen calm down a little. After all, the current situation was really puzzling, and they were eager to know the reason for this situation. Chen Xingzhen, who was watched by many clan members, did not care about the identity of his clan leader this time. Instead, he took 3 steps at a time and hurried to the bottom of the ancestral hall. When Chen Xingzhen saw these white fruits with human faces in front of him, even though he had seen many scenes, he couldn't help but froze on the spot. That is, Chen Xingzhen's eyes swept over these ginkgo fruits one by one, and the expression on his face changed from calm at first to shock and bewilderment now. Looking at Jing Guosheng's face, the corners of Chen Xingzhen's slightly wrinkled eyes became even more moist. Just because he saw the dead clansmen and elders in the clan on these faces, and scenes from the past also emerged from his heart at this moment. Those were all the faces he had met in his dreams. When Chen Xingzhen raised his head and looked at the ginkgo tree at the top of the sacred tree, he could no longer suppress the grief in his heart. He immediately fell to his knees and shouted sadly, "Father!" Ah! Many tribesmen behind him were stunned for a moment when they saw this, but they saw that the tribe leader was kneeling on the ground and crying. The other tribesmen could not suppress the sadness in their hearts at this moment, and they all looked at the face on the ginkgo and cried. For a time, the entire ancestral hall was occupied by the mournful sounds of the clan members. Outside the ancestral hall, Chen Qinghe and Chen Qingmeng quickly hurried back from the fields after hearing that something important had happened to their family. At this moment, the two of them were still holding hoes for digging the ground. The family was in a desperate situation, and before winter came, the family wanted to plant a crop of blood rice. They also wanted to contribute to the family, so they took the initiative to ask Ying to farm the land, hone their bodies, and reach the middle stage of the body-tempering realm as soon as possible. But when the two of them arrived at the gate of the ancestral hall, they saw the patriarch kneeling on the ground and crying bitterly. Facing the scene in front of them, the two of them scratched their heads helplessly. They were still young, and they didn't recognize the faces on Jingguo, so naturally they didn't have the same emotions as other tribesmen. However, one of the ginkgos is somewhat similar to his clan brother Chen Qingyu. Just when Chen Qinghe was at a loss, Chen Qingmeng on the side suddenly asked, "Qinghe, what should we call the patriarch's father?" After hearing this sudden question, Chen Qinghe couldn't help but be stunned. Although they are usually called clan leaders, according to the family's seniority, they should be called fourth uncle Chen Xingzhen. What are the names of the fourth uncle's fathers? Chen Qinghe thought for a while and had the answer in his eyes. Call ancestor. But then Chen Qinghe shook his head suddenly. Is now the time to think about this? Qing Meng, let's go quickly to find the rest of the family. After saying that, Chen Qinghe pulled Chen Qingmeng and ran away. The scene in the ancestral hall had a great impact on him. Even the clan leader was kneeling on the ground crying, and he didn't know what to do. In this case, he naturally had to call for help. It's a pity that his father, his brother Chen Qingyu, and several blood coagulation realm warriors have been out searching for traces of the Li family for the past few days and have not returned yet. Just as they were preparing to inform the rest of the clan, they met several dusty figures at the gate of the clan. Chen Qinghe stopped and looked, and then his face became happy. It was his father and Chen Qingyu who came back. The two of them hurriedly ran towards the group of people. At this time, Chen Tianjing and others who were returning from outside were also a little puzzled. Although the Li family was no longer a concern, why was there not even a guard at the gate of the family? After returning to the clan, they did not meet many clan members. However, when several people looked at Chen Qinghe and Chen Qingmeng running towards them, they also stopped. "Ha, Dad, our ancestors are hanging on the tree, go and take a look. By the way, Brother Qingyu and your father are also hanging on the tree." Chen Qinghe said a little hastily and hurriedly. Chen Tianjing's expression changed as soon as Chen Qinghe blurted out his first sentence. When Chen Qinghe said the second sentence, Chen Tianjing felt even worse. He turned around and saw Chen Qingyu's face was gloomy. Chen Tianjing immediately said angrily, "You are a treacherous fool, see if I don't beat you to death today." Having said that, Chen Tianjing had already untied the belt made of beetle tendons around his waist and was ready to take action. At this time, Chen Qingmeng on the side also said anxiously, "What Qinghe said is true, they are all hanging on the tree." Seeing that the two of them didn't look like they were lying, Chen Tianyu frowned slightly, stopped Chen Tianjing who was about to take action, and then said, "Tianjing, don't be too busy doing it. Let's go to the ancestral hall quickly. Little fool, I'll deal with you when I get back." Chen Tianjing suppressed his anger and several people quickly rushed towards the ancestral hall. Before they arrived at the ancestral hall, the three of them heard cries coming from the ancestral hall. This made the three of them feel cold and quickened their pace. When the three of them entered the ancestral hall, they saw many clansmen kneeling down and crying. This made the three of them feel even worse. Looking at the white fruits on the sacred tree in front of them, their expressions changed. However, the three of them are also blood coagulation realm warriors. Especially after seeing the obviously abnormal scene in front of them, they were wary and did not fall into it. Where is the patriarch? Where is the patriarch? Chen Tianjing asked while grabbing the clansman who was still crying for his father and mother. Such a big thing happened in the family, why is the patriarch not here? This makes no sense. Clan leader. The tribesman whose cry was interrupted scratched his head, seeming to recall where the tribe leader was. But soon, he remembered it, pointed at the figure in the front and said, "Isn't that right?" The three of them looked in the direction he pointed, with a hint of astonishment on their faces. They hadn't noticed it just now, but now when they saw the figure from behind, wasn't this the clan leader they were looking for? But this made a few people feel colder. They had not been in the clan for a few days. They did not expect such a big thing to happen in the clan. Looking at the family sacred tree, their whole bodies changed even more. What on earth is going on? Has the patriarch gone crazy again? Ahead, Chen Xingzhen's emotions gradually calmed down. When the family migrated here all the way, it was my father who led the family members to overcome obstacles along the way. It took more than 20 years for the family to leave the original location and arrive at the mass burial mountain. During this period, the family also stayed in other places, but failed due to various resistances, and finally came to mass burial mountain to thrive. In the past 20 years, the family elders have passed away one after another, and he has also grown from a boy of about 10 years old to the age of 60 now. Ever since he became the patriarch of the family, he didn't know how much responsibility and expectations he had shouldered. Family responsibilities and expectations made him dare not stop for a moment. Every time he recalled the time he spent growing up under the wings of his father and many elders, he missed it even more. It was precisely because of this that when he saw Jing Guo who looked like his father, he lost his composure for a moment. This emotion was so intense that it made him forget his current status as a clan leader. However, Chen Tianjing's questioning voice just behind him made him regain his senses. Now that he is the leader of the clan, how could he be so outrageous? And seeing his father and some family elders again today also made him fulfill the last wish in his heart. Chen Xingzhen, who had regained his status as the patriarch, quickly wiped away the tears on his face, and then stood up slowly, with a calm expression, as if the old man who just covered his face and cried was someone else. Quiet. After regaining his composure, Chen Xingzhen turned to look at the other tribesmen, slowly raised his hand to stop the tribesmen from crying, and then said with a solemn expression, "It is a critical moment for the sacred tree to give birth to the sacred fruit. From today onwards, the ancestral hall will be temporarily closed, and no one in the clan will disturb the sacred tree. Anyone who needs to worship the sacred tree must do so with my permission." After issuing several orders, Chen Xingzhen once again restored the majesty of the clan leader, and the clan members below had no objections. Today, they were able to catch a glimpse of the deceased elders in their family, which also made them feel much calmer. However, many tribesmen are still a little curious about these ginkgo fruits, but now that the ancestral hall is temporarily closed, they have no other way. At the gate of the ancestral hall, Chen Tianjing and the others, who were still a little flustered at first, breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this. Fortunately, the patriarch is not crazy yet, and the family can still be saved. Tianjing, have you ever traced the whereabouts of the Li family? After many clan members retreated from the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen asked the three people who came back. Hearing Chen Tianjing ask about business, the three of them also hurriedly replied. Clan leader, I traveled all the way to the southeast and searched for more than 100 miles, but I didn't find any remnants of the Li family. Clan leader, I searched all the way to the northwest, but I didn't find anyone from the Li family. Chen Xingzhen listened to the two people's reports quietly, his expression as usual. Although the Li family was defeated and fled, they had been operating in the burial mountain for a long time. If there were no secret passages or hiding places, he would definitely not believe it. However, after searching for so long, the two still found no trace of the group, which shows that the Li family has other ideas. They also inquired about the group of people who caught the Li family's abandonment, but did not get any results. It can be seen that Li Yongcheng did not tell them, and even those people themselves did not know that they had been abandoned. Only by hiding it from your tribe can you hide it from your enemies. I've made some discoveries here. Chen Qingyu's words instantly attracted the attention of 3 people. After discovering the hiding place of the Li family, we only found one path, which showed that the Li family had not yet dispersed at that time, so I followed the footsteps of the Li family members that I found a few days ago, and finally found a path. Some traces were found in Chadao. Well, Qingyu, keep talking. Chen Xingzhen nodded after hearing this. Although the traces were slight and were even actively covered up, there were still some flaws left. I tracked them all the way and finally arrived within the hunting range of the Li family's mass burial mountain. Hearing this, Chen Xingzhen suddenly realized. So that was the case. He asked why the family sent so many people to search, but still no clues were found. You must know that even if the Li family abandoned a group of people, there are still about 20 people left. The traces of so many people cannot be completely hidden. Now it seems that everything has the answer. They actually entered the mass burial mountain. Chen Xingzhen had not thought about this before. After all, there were many dangers in the mass burial mountain. Not only were there many ferocious beasts, but there were also snakes, insects, rats, and ants. In addition, the terrain was complex and rugged and difficult to navigate. Even a warrior would not move forward rashly without some preparation. Although the Li family took away the only remaining elites in the clan, they were not too old and did not have much experience. Moreover, it was difficult to bring so many clan members through the mass burial mountain. It cannot be said in one word. Thinking of this, Chen Xingzhen sighed again. Li Yongcheng is a man of great courage. Clan leader, do we want to continue chasing? Chen Tianjing asked. Although the Li family fled mass burial mountain, the family hatred may not fade away for 100 years. If it is not eradicated, it may be detrimental to the future development of the family. Chen Xingzhen thought for a moment after hearing this, and then slowly shook his head. Don't chase after the poor. The terrain of mass burial mountain is complex and there are many ferocious beasts in the mountain, making it difficult to track. In addition, Li Yongcheng and Li Keiliang are both good hunters and they are very good at hunting. It is very likely that they will lay traps along the way. Besides, it has been a long time. I think they are already halfway through their journey. If they continue to pursue them, it will be detrimental to the family. Chen Tianjing frowned slightly. But Patriarch, are we going to let them go like this? We can enter the mass burial mountain through the family's secret passage and block their way in advance. After hearing this, Chen Xingzhen smiled calmly. His Li family is just a defeated general, so what if he brings his clan members with him? Now that the crisis of our Chen family has passed, and we have the help of the sacred tree, will our future development not be as good as that of his Li family? Besides, ferocious beasts are rampant in mass burial mountain, and there is also the innate level blue wolf in the depths. What should they do if they encounter it? After hearing what Chen Xingzhen said, the 3 of them suddenly became enlightened. Yes, they almost forgot about the innate level green wolf. Moreover, the family also has a sacred tree. Even if it grows silently, how can the Chen family be weaker than the Li family? Thinking of the sacred tree, several people couldn't help but turn their heads. Clan leader, this sacred tree. After hearing the questions from several people, Chen Xingzhen also sighed. I don't know what's going on. I plan to communicate with the sacred tree tonight and ask what the situation is. If it were other clan members, he would definitely give a reasonable explanation, but with Chen Tianjing and the others, he didn't have to hide it. Seeing that the clan leader didn't know the reason for this, the 3 of them couldn't help but frown slightly. But looking at the fruits with familiar faces on the tree, the 3 of them stopped to watch and pondered for a long time. After a while, Chen Xingzhen spoke again. Okay, now that the Li family has fled to Mass Burial Mountain, let's withdraw the clan members outside. Winter is approaching, and the food in the clan is not enough to support the entire family through this winter. The most urgent task is to see if we can continue to plant a crop of blood rice. Tianjing, you are responsible for this matter. Yes, Patriarch, Qingyu, the hunting matter is your responsibility. You can choose warriors from the clan and go into the mountains to hunt, but remember not to go deep. Everything is based on the safety of the clan. If you really encounter a member of the Li clan, you should not pursue them rashly. We will consider the long term after you return to the clan. Chen Qingyu nodded. Tianyu, you still need some snacks from the Lu family. Now we are the only two families left in the mass burial mountain, but there is no movement at all from the Liu family. I really feel uneasy. In addition, you are also responsible for the body tempering of the family warriors, especially the young people in the clan, who need to be taught carefully. I see. After the three people left, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree again, but his eyes were unfocused, as if he was wandering in the sky. Although the family seems to have stabilized now, the previous battle with the Li family caused too much damage, and now the family's food reserves have long been exhausted. Even the blood rice seized from the Li family and the domestic animals raised were far from enough for the tribe to survive this winter. Logically speaking, given the state of the Li family, these grains should not be the only ones in stock, but I don't know if the Li family hid it somewhere or took it away. The family did not find more blood rice. However, blood rice alone is not enough. Although the level of warriors in the clan is not high, there are still a lot of them. In particular, warriors in the body tempering realm need to nourish their qi and blood with enough meat. In this way, they can temper their bodies faster, so hunting is particularly important, as it affects the future of the family. In addition, now that the sacred tree has revived, worship must be resumed. According to the previous clan rules, the sacred tree required a small sacrifice every 3 days and a major sacrifice every 7 days. However, the current situation in the clan is not good, so it would be better to offer sacrifices once every 7 days. But even if there is a sacrifice every 7 days, the number of ferocious beasts required will not be too small. Especially after winter, when the mountains are closed by heavy snow, even blood coagulation realm warriors will find it difficult to hunt after entering the mass burial mountain. So you have to prepare in advance. The weather in this world is particularly cold, and compared to other places, mass burial mountain is even worse. Although warriors in the body tempering realm have tempered their muscles, bones, and flesh, they still need to pay attention to preventing cold, otherwise the root of the disease will be caused, the qi and blood in the body will not flow smoothly, and it will become more difficult to advance to the blood coagulation realm. Blood coagulation realm warriors are not very afraid, but there are several blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, and more of them are clansmen who don't even have the body tempering realm. Now that winter is only about 2 months away, the family still has a lot to prepare, such as clothing to keep out the cold, firewood, etc. I don't know if there will be enough time. Chen Xingzhen gradually came back to his senses, and then looked at the endless sky, with a sigh in his heart. The power of heaven was so frightening that it was difficult for an individual to resist it, so a family was born. Only when the family becomes stronger can the life of the clan members become better and lead to a higher realm. When the level of the tribe is high, they will feed the family back, and the cycle repeats, eventually creating a prosperous family. The road to family prosperity is long and arduous. But fortunately, the family is now protected by the sacred tree, which is already far ahead of other families. Chen Xingzhen regained his confidence in his eyes and turned around to leave the ancestral hall. There were many matters in the clan that needed to be handled by him. It's finally quiet. Looking at the empty ancestral hall again, Ji Yang's mood calmed down. The cries of the clan members just now made his head spin, and he didn't know how many days it would take for the fruit to mature. But he felt like he had forgotten something. The sound of leaves rustling in the breeze was heard next to his ears, and Ji Yang also fell into memories. In the center of the mass burial mountain, the warriors of the Li family were gathering in a sunken valley, looking around with vigilance. At this moment, the clothes of the tribesmen were all torn by the thorns in the mountains, and their bodies were covered with blood. Many tribesmen groaned and looked in pain. The pain on the body can still be endured, but the fear in the heart is revealed in the eyes of every clan member. Yangchang, several clan members were injured just now. How should we go next? Li Keiliang slowly approached and asked Li Yangchang, who was thinking at the side. Even though he is a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation realm, he still can't hide the fatigue on his face at this moment. He had been injured during the previous battle with the Chen family. In the past few days, the family needed him to clear the way. Even though his extraordinary perception allowed him to bypass the territory of those ferocious beasts, some accidents would still happen from time to time. For example, just now, the family encountered a ferocious beast in the middle stage of the blood coagulation realm that was looking for food. Although the ferocious beast was killed, several tribesmen were still slightly injured. What made Li Keliang even more uneasy was the loud howling of wolves that came to his ears when the group entered the center of the mass burial mountain. It was a sense of oppression that ferocious beasts of the same realm could not give him, and it was also the source of fear among the people of the tribe. Although he didn't want to believe it, the facts told him that it was definitely an innate level ferocious beast. Not to mention that there are only 2 blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, namely him and Li Yongcheng. Even if there are 2 more warriors, they will definitely not be his match. In addition, wolves are ferocious beasts that live in groups. If we encounter this, I wonder how many of the tribesmen present will survive. He did not say anything about this kind of thing that affected the confidence of the tribe, but only told Li Yongcheng. Hearing Li Keliang's inquiry, Li Yongcheng said nothing and just looked at the incomplete map in his hand silently. That was the topographic map of the mass burial mountain that the tribesmen drew based on hunting. Unfortunately, there is only half of it, and there is a large blank space in the center of the map. This time he left via mass burial mountain not only with the intention of getting rid of the Chen family, but also with the idea of perfecting the map in his hand. As long as they can improve the map, they can attack from behind mass burial mountain and catch the Chen family by surprise. A few days ago, he thought that although it would be difficult to pass through the mass burial mountain, with him and his 5th uncle Li Keliang here, there would definitely be no big problem. But when he really went deep into the mass burial mountain, he realized that he had overestimated himself and his tribe too much. There are many ferocious beasts in the depths of mass burial mountain, and their realms are not low. Blood coagulation realm ferocious beasts are everywhere. The tribesmen are not at a high level and have not yet experienced the baptism of blood. The continuous rush in the past few days and the complicated environment have caused many tribesmen to lose their confidence. The howl of wolves before was the last straw that overwhelmed the tribe. When he learned that the wolf howl was made by a beast in the innate realm, Li Yongcheng was also in a state of confusion. But as a clan leader, he recovered quickly. But he also understood that if he didn't do something, let alone revenge, even whether the family could leave this mass grave would be a problem. Looking at the map in his hand again, Li Yongcheng already had a decision in mind. Divert, detour. Although this will delay a lot of time, compared to meeting that innate level ferocious beast, the delay is nothing. Of course, he could also choose to bet that they would not encounter the innate beast when they passed through, but he no longer had the capital to gamble. Even if there was only 1 in 10,000 chance of encountering that innate level beast, he couldn't afford to gamble. Fortunately, there is good news, that is, they have not sensed anyone following them in the past few days. Either the Chen family didn't realize that they were leaving via the mass burial mountain, or they didn't pursue them. Li Yongcheng thinks the latter is more likely, but it means they have enough time to take a detour. Li Yongcheng stood up, preparing to explain the next road to the tribe, and to encourage the tribe to let them know that the family had great hope of leaving the mass burial mountain this time. But just as he was preparing to make an argument, Li Keliang's expression suddenly changed and he hurriedly said, "Yongcheng, there is a ferocious beast in the late stage of blood coagulation realm in the southeast approaching us." Li Yongcheng's expression changed slightly. He didn't care about drawing cakes for his clan members anymore. He hurriedly put away the map in his hand and signaled his clan members to evacuate. Today's team may be able to fight against the ferocious beasts in the late stages of the blood coagulation realm, but this is definitely the last resort. Although the tribesmen on the side who were preparing to rest were reluctant, they also understood that this was a matter of life and death, so they hurriedly got up from the ground and quickly moved away. Okay, it's gone. Li Keliang carefully leaned against the boulder behind him and breathed a sigh of relief. The other tribesmen were also paralyzed on the ground at this moment. Uncle Wu, please give way." At this time, Li Yongcheng suddenly noticed the bluestone Li Keliang was leaning on and began to look at it carefully. Li Keliang had doubts on his face, but he moved away and looked over. After the 2 people looked at it, they quickly discovered the difference in the bluestone. This bluestone is too special. It seems to have been placed here intentionally. In addition, there are subtle marks on the left and right sides of the bluestone, which are the palm prints left by the warriors when they moved it. Although it is subtle, it is very obvious if you look closely. Moreover, there is a vague smell on the bluestone, which makes the 2 of them feel very familiar. Magnolia powder. The next moment, the two of them spoke in unison, and the colors in their eyes also changed slightly. Yangcheng, get out of the way, I'll do it. Li Keliang, who noticed the human traces, moved the bluestone in front of him. Seeing this, other tribesmen also gathered around, with curiosity in their eyes. Rumble. The bluestone was quickly moved away by Li Keliang. As the bluestone moved away, a huge entrance to the secret passage appeared in front of several people. This scene made many tribesmen scream in shock. They did not expect that there was such a secret passage hidden deep in the mass burial mountain. When Li Yangcheng looked at the secret passage in front of him, his heart suddenly became enlightened. The only ones who can establish a secret passage here are the three major families of Mass Burial Mountain. The Liu family established the Mass Burial Mountain not long ago, and this secret passage looks to be quite old. It was obviously not built by the Liu family, and it couldn't have been built by the Li family. It could only be the Chen family. No wonder that after the Chen family was completely surrounded, there was still no lack of food for the Chen family members. It is probably that they came to the Mass Burial Mountain for hunting through this secret passage. The look in Li Keliang's eyes changed rapidly after he discovered the secret passage. He could guess that this secret passage would most likely lead to the ancestral hall of the Chen family. If he counterattacked now, would it be possible for the family to take revenge? But soon, Li Keliang's eyes regained consciousness. His answer is no. Since the Chen family is not chasing them, there are at least 4 blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, including 2 late-stage warriors. How could he possibly be his opponent with just the few people he had now? If he entered through the secret passage now, he would just fall into a trap. There was another reason why Li Keliang didn't dare, the locust leaf he had seen before. He also didn't know what the sacred tree that caused their family's collapse looked like. If circumstances didn't allow it, he really wanted to take a look at the so-called sacred tree. Yangcheng, what should I do? Li Keliang on the side also guessed the side of the secret passage. At this moment, he clenched his fists, and he had the intention of killing him if he disagreed. However, after thinking of the previous battle, Li Keliang's expression changed, and the anger in his heart gradually disappeared. Since the Chen family didn't come after them, they must have given up. In this case, the family's secret passage is still safe. Let the clan members rest here for the night and talk about it tomorrow. After that, Li Yangcheng took the lead into the secret passage. Now that the clan members are exhausted, it would be great if they could have a safe place to rest for the night. And this secret family passage may be their opportunity in the future, so now they cannot be noticed by the Chen family. After entering the secret passage, the group was still cautious. After noticing that there was no movement from the other side of the secret passage, everyone relaxed. At night, the secret passage was dark, and most of the tribesmen had fallen asleep, but Li Yangcheng looked at the other end of the secret passage and fell into deep thought. Yangcheng, after leaving Mass Burial Mountain, have you thought about the future of your family? Beside, Li Keliang, who had not fallen asleep, suddenly asked. Li Yangcheng was slightly startled, then nodded. Fifth uncle, as long as I can leave the Mass Burial Mountain, I am confident that the family will prosper again. Li Keliang looked pleased, smiled and nodded. Okay, I feel relieved that the family has you here. Uncle 5, hearing Li Keliang's obviously wrong tone, Li Yangcheng's back against the secret passage straightened instantly, and he looked at Li Keliang with a little doubt in his eyes. You have also seen the current situation of the family, so let me ask you, if you leave the Mass Burial Mountain, how sure are you of avenging the family? How many years will it take? After hearing this, Li Yangcheng silently compared the current family and the Chen family, and then fell into silence. Leaving the Mass Burial Mountain means that the fertile farmland and hunting and other resources that the family used to manage are all gone, and they have to start all over again. Although he does not lack the courage to start over again and has the confidence to revive the family, but facing the Chen family, which is now developing better, he really does not know how long it will take for the family to develop before it can take revenge. Decades, maybe hundreds of years, or maybe, forever. Thinking of the locust leaf, Li Yangcheng also had a trace of confusion in his eyes. In the dark night, Li Keliang smiled bitterly. It seems you have figured it out. Nowadays, most of the resources in Mass Burial Mountain are occupied by the Chen family. In addition, the Chen family has the help of the so-called sacred tree. If nothing happens, in a few decades, the Chen family will become even stronger, even far beyond today's scale. If this continues, what will our Li family have to contend with? Li Yongcheng became increasingly silent. Indeed, with the strength of the previous family, they were defeated by the Chen family. Even if he starts anew and develops the family again, will it be comparable to the Chen family with its sacred tree? Over time, the gap between the two families will only grow wider. The reason why the Chen family was able to survive and turn defeat into victory, according to my guess, is probably because of the sacred tree. During the previous war, I had glimpsed the appearance of the sacred tree, which was planted in the Chen family's ancestral hall. Now that I have discovered this secret passage, I think God is helping my Li family. This secret passage has a high probability of leading to the Chen family's ancestral hall. I can use the cover of night to lead directly into the ancestral hall through this secret passage and destroy the sacred tree. Without the sacred tree, with your ability, you can definitely make the family prosperous again. It is only a matter of time before you surpass the Chen family. Upon hearing the plan proposed by Li Keiliang, Li Yongcheng immediately objected. No, fifth uncle, this is too risky. Li Keiliang shook his head. I am already old, and the late stage of the blood coagulation realm is already my limit. It will be difficult for me to advance to the innate realm in this life. Even if I leave the mass burial mountain, it will not be of much help to my family. Since you have decided to change the route, your ability is enough to lead the clan members out of the mass burial mountain safely. How could you give up such a good opportunity? Besides, the Chen family is now in ruins and waiting to be revitalized. I'm afraid there aren't many people guarding the ancestral hall. With my late-stage strength in the blood coagulation realm, it's completely enough. Maybe I can destroy the sacred tree and then leave through the secret passage. I will follow the route when the time comes. After saying that, Li Keiliang showed a hint of confidence in his eyes. This also made Li Yongcheng swallow the words of persuasion in his mouth. The family suffered a huge defeat before, and he also analyzed the reasons after the war. The main reason is that those members of the Chen family who were seriously injured by their clansmen recovered from their injuries within a few days. Coupled with the weird locust leaves, this led to the family's final failure. These two reasons are obviously related to the extra sacred trees in the Chen family. If things can really go as planned by Li Keiliang, it will indeed be a good thing for the family. It can not only curb the development of the Chen family, but also kill the enemy. But he was worried that Uncle Wu would never come back this time. But he also understands that this seems to be the only thing the family can do at present, and if successful, it will be of great benefit to the family's revenge in the future. Reason and emotion collide. After a while, Li Yongcheng looked calmly. Uncle Fifth, let's discuss the specific details. Good. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang was silently absorbing the moonlight and yin energy. Today is already the 5th day of the growth of these ginkgo fruits. The size of the ginkgo fruits, which were originally about the size of a fist, has not changed significantly, but the color on them has gradually changed from white to gray, and the faces on the fruits have become clearer and more vivid. While Ji Yang was concentrating on absorbing the moonlight, there was a sudden sound of falling to the ground in the ancestral hall. Dang! The sound of climbing over the wall and landing on the ground made Ji Yang's heart skip a beat. Normal tribe members would go through the main gate, but those who climbed over the wall must not be good people, just like Chen Qinghe and Chen Qingmeng who came to secretly hack themselves in the middle of the night. I thought it was the two of them making a comeback, but when Ji Yang looked around, he only saw a figure. The figure was somewhat familiar, and the steps were so light that Ji Yang's hidden roots were not noticed at the first time. At this moment, this figure was slowly approaching Ji Yang. But Ji Yang didn't have much reaction, just a little doubt. The person who came was not anyone else, but Chen Qingyu. If it had been before, he must have been extremely worried. After all, Chen Qingyu was not low in level and was disrespectful to his sacred tree. He was really worried about Chen Qingyu acting impulsively. But now, he is not worried anymore. As a genius of the younger generation of the family, Chen Qingyu originally just wanted the patriarch to wake up from his obsession with the sacred tree and save the family. After she used her magical power to save the Chen family, although Chen Qingyu still seemed a little rebellious, her original intentions were gone. And in the previous hunting, he was also conscientious. Under such circumstances, Ji Yang naturally did not have to worry about what Chen Qingyu would do, but he was still a little confused as to what Chen Qingyu was doing here at this time. Chen Qingyu approached slowly and stopped 2 meters below the sacred tree. His eyes swept over the branches of Jiang one by one, and finally stopped on a ginkgo. Following Chen Qingyu's gaze, Ji Yang also looked at the ginkgo. Without looking closely, Ji Yang already knew the reason, because the face on the ginkgo was very similar to Chen Qingyu. It turned out that the person hanging on the tree was his father. Ji Yang glanced at the memorial tablet in the ancestral hall and found the name of Chen Qingyu's father, Chen Tianxin, on it. The Tianzi generation is the same generation as Chen Tianyu and Chen Tianjing in the current family. Based on Chen Qingyu's age, Chen Tianxin should also be the oldest among his peers, but logically speaking, he is only in his 40s or 50s now. I don't know why he died young. Ji Yang ignored it and continued to absorb the moonlight. Chen Qingyu, who stopped under the tree, did not cry sadly like other tribesmen. She just stood quietly under the moonlight, looking at the familiar face above, and many memories came into her mind at this moment. After a long time like this, Chen Qingyu did not move. It wasn't until the sound of slow footsteps came from outside the ancestral hall that Chen Qingyu came to her senses, and then quickly climbed over the wall and left the ancestral hall. But just as he climbed over the wall, his body suddenly stagnated and he almost fell off the wall. However, relying on the late-stage blood coagulation realm, Chen Qingyu used her hands hard and finally left safely. Crunch. The door of the ancestral hall slowly opened. Ji Yang knew who was coming without even looking. After all, except for the clan leader Chen Xingzhen, few others came over in the middle of the night. After entering the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen did not rush towards Ji Yang, but first glanced at the wall next to him. Although he is a bit older, he is still a late-stage warrior in the blood coagulation realm. How could the movement in the ancestral hall just now be hidden from him? Chen Xingzhen had already guessed the person coming, but he was not prepared to reveal it. He just shook his head and sighed, and then approached the sacred tree respectfully. Even though he had been looking at it for a long time, when he saw the ginkgo on the tree again, his mood became complicated. But he didn't forget the purpose of coming here. Ji Yang knew his purpose, but he didn't know how to communicate with the clan leader Chen Xingzhen. But it doesn't matter. Just when Chen Xingzhen was about to ask Ji Yang about the changes in the sacred tree, Ji Yang's branches above him suddenly flashed a light. The light flashed away, but Chen Xingzhen below was stunned. Before Chen Xingzhen could react, he felt a string of new memories suddenly emerge in his mind. Chen Xingzhen carefully comprehended the extra memory in his mind, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. This is a high-grade yellow-level combat skill. Chen Xingzhen said in surprise and looked overjoyed. It's no wonder he was so excited. According to the elders in the clan, when the family was glorious, there were many such combat skills, and there were even more powerful ones. But that was just a glorious time. He had only heard of it but never seen it. The family has been living in exile so far. Even the family does not have ordinary yellow-level combat skills, let alone high-level yellow-level combat skills. One can imagine how the Chen family has declined today. That's why the combat skills he got in his mind made him ecstatic. With this combat skill, the family's strength will inevitably rise to a higher level, especially for blood coagulation realm warriors, who will be even more powerful after possessing the combat skill, and their strength will not be the same. I originally wanted to ask about the current status of the sacred tree, but now it seems that there is no need. The sacred tree is in good condition. Chen Xingzhen left the ancestral hall in a hurry after paying homage. He needed to record this combat skill immediately and then pass it on to the family warriors to enhance the family's strength. Since the sacred tree taught him this combat skill, he probably had this in mind. Yes, Ji Yang did have this intention, otherwise he would not have chosen to teach Chen Xingzhen his skills. Teizu Chengquan. Huang-level high-grade combat skill can be transferred once. But when Ji Yang looked at the remaining times, he was thinking in his heart, who should be passed on to this last time. Although Chen Xingzhen has already understood the combat skill of Teizu Chengquan, he can even copy it down for other tribesmen to learn. But Ji Yang's technique was a little different. Combat skills are not a quick fix, but require self-understanding, practice and practice, and finally master them to bring out the full power of combat skills. This process is not short, and those with talent may be able to get started in a few days. For those who are not talented enough, it may take several months. Advanced combat skills last longer. Ji Yang's teaching of skills is equivalent to omitting the first step of learning and directly pouring preliminary knowledge into their minds, allowing them to realize it on their own, thus achieving quick success. However, if you want to learn more advanced combat skills, you still need to work hard on your own and hone them in constant actual combat. But even so, it can save a lot of time for some warriors in the family. Unfortunately, Ji Yang could only teach the combat skills 3 times. This last time, Ji Yang thought deeply, but he was not ready to continue teaching his skills. He also wanted to see if there were other talented people in the family so he could choose from them. Taezu Chengquan. In the room, Chen Qingyu closed her eyes and felt what she just got in her mind. It was because of this sudden extra memory that he almost fell off the wall. But after some induction, Chen Qingyu suddenly opened his eyes, and a bright color burst out from his calm eyes. Combat skills. Huang level high-grade combat skills. He had long wanted to see what combat skills were like, but he didn't expect to gain so much from going to the ancestral hall today. Chen Qingyu knew very clearly where the combat skills in his mind came from. Who else has such strength except the sacred tree? Chen Qingyu silently experienced the operation skills of Taezu Chengquan, and as Chen Qingyu's combat skills operated, the qi and blood in the body also began to move along with the tendons. Soon, the qi and blood in the body gathered in the palm of the hand along the special tendons. But he couldn't express this energy and blood. The next moment, Chen Qingyu turned his palm into a fist, and the energy and blood suddenly burst out with his shot. Boom! The powerful force of energy and blood came out of his hand, and there was an explosion. The door to the room was also blown into pieces at this moment. What happened? What happened? It seems to be coming from Brother Qingyu's room. Go and have a look. The huge sound was extremely loud, and soon attracted many patrolling tribesmen. It's okay, I accidentally broke the door while practicing just now. Chen Qingyu opened his mouth to explain. The tribesmen who arrived were relieved when they saw this. It was only a few days before the family war, and their hearts were not yet completely settled. They thought the family was under attack just now. After seeing the results of Chen Qingyu's punch just now, several tribesmen exclaimed. What kind of strength does Brother Qingyu have? It's too strong. When can I reach the realm of Brother Qingyu? After sighing, a few people immediately repaired the damaged door roughly before continuing to patrol. After a few people left, Chen Qingyu looked at his fist silently, with a hint of amazement in his eyes. He only used 5 points of qi and blood power in the blow just now, but it exerted a power that usually requires 7 points of qi and blood power. The extra 2 points are the improvements brought about by combat skills. If he used Taezu Chengquan to exert 100% of his energy and blood at this moment, he would be much stronger than before. And he could feel that his combat skills were just getting started, and the punch he just punched caused a lot of blood to be dispersed, which led to the destruction of the door. If he can condense all the energy and blood into 1 point without wasting any of it, then this Taezu Chengquan can be considered a real introduction. And in actual combat, Taezu Chengquan has more variations. Chen Qingyu's eyes became brighter as she thought about the details. Is this a combat skill? It's stronger than he imagined. But then Chen Qingyu frowned slightly. This kind of combat skill should not belong to him alone, but to the entire family. If all the family warriors learned the Taezu Chong fist, their strength would be stronger. Considering that the clan leader had already rested, Chen Qingyu decided to go there early tomorrow morning. Chen Qingyu, who had learned the combat skills, did not intend to sleep. Instead, he continued to silently feel the operation of the combat skills in his body, striving to master them as soon as possible. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang's consciousness has already spread out, and Chen Qingyu lives not far from the ancestral hall. Although the roots have not yet spread to his room, Ji Yang also sensed the scene just now. Ji Yang had mastered this combat skill after comprehending it, but when he saw the punch Chen Qingyu had just punched, he was quite satisfied. Although Chen Qingyu had already learned this combat skill after he passed it on, he could also see Chen Qingyu's talent in this area from the punch just now. In time, this son will definitely become the light of the family. It seems that in addition to developing the family, we need to focus on cultivating it. Chapter 51. Early the next morning, Chen Xingzhen pushed open the door and walked out. At this moment, Chen Xingzhen's eyes were red. He had obviously stayed up all night, but he was full of energy. Especially when he saw the combat skill, Teizu Chong Fist, that he had copied in his hand, he felt even more happy. He was originally worried that he would not be able to remember this vast knowledge of combat skills, but later he discovered that the combat skills seemed to have been integrated into his mind and could not be forgotten. However, for the future of his family, he still burned the midnight oil and finally copied it. Just when Chen Xingzhen was about to summon Chen Tianyu and several blood coagulation realm warriors to teach them their combat skills, he saw Chen Qingyu walking towards him. "Qingyu, you're here at the right time, quickly take this combat skill and learn it." The family also has combat skills. Chen Qingyu, who was about to tell Chen Xingzhen what happened last night, was stunned when he heard this. The next moment, Chen Xingzhen put the combat skills in Chen Qingyu's hands and said with joy, "This combat skill was taught to me by the sacred tree last night. It will be of great benefit to the family. After you learn it, you can hand over this combat skill to your second uncle and the others and ask them to make a few copies and pass them on to other clan members. This combat skill is of great importance. Currently it can only be taught to family warriors. After the teaching is completed, it must be handed over uniformly and cannot be passed on to others." Chen Xingzhen was talking to himself, but he didn't notice the slight change in Chen Qingyu's face after flipping through the combat skills in his hand. This is obviously the Teizu Chong Fist he got last night. If you think about it carefully, it is extremely reasonable. Since the sacred tree passed down the combat skills to him, how could he not pass it on to the clan leader? This made Chen Qingyu, who originally wanted to tell Chen Xingzhen about his combat skills, change his previous thoughts. After he told him, wouldn't it mean that he would reveal that he secretly entered the ancestral hall last night? Although this is not a big deal, even with his status in the clan, he can report it to the clan leader, and then swagger into the ancestral hall to worship his father. But as a genius in his family, he didn't want to expose his weaknesses to others, even members of his family. Good. Chen Qingyu didn't say anything more, turned around and left with her combat skills. Behind him, Chen Xingzhen sighed as he watched Chen Qingyu's leaving figure. Qingyu is a child with extremely high talents. Although his personality is a bit impulsive, he is also devoted to his family. However, due to the death of his parents in his early years, his personality is more aloof than others. He could also guess the people in the ancestral hall last night. Similarly, he also understood why Chen Qingyu went in, but he had no intention of exposing Chen Qingyu. As the patriarch, he knows everyone in the family. Behind Chen Qingyu's seemingly aloofness, he actually hides a heart that is more fragile than others. It's a pity that even as the clan leader, he can't help his clan members much in this regard. He can only do his little bit to give his clansmen a place to live and make the family the last harbor in every clansman's heart. Combat skills, or high-grade yellow-level combat skills. Ha ha ha, great, quick, let me see. When Teizu Chengquan was introduced to the ears of the family warriors, it caused quite a stir in the clan. Many tribesmen circulated it one after another, wanting to get a glimpse of the mystery of this yellow-level combat skill. Not long after, the patriarch Chen Xingzhen personally spoke out. The top 3 tribesmen who understand Teizu Chengquan will receive rewards from the tribe at the end of the year. As for the prize, it is the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts in the blood coagulation realm. The tribesmen who heard the news were extremely enthusiastic. Although the family would allocate the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts every year according to the tribe's realm or merit, no one would have too many things that can temper the body and condense the blood. For a time, all the warriors in the clan were practicing Teizu Chengquan, hoping to be one step ahead and become the first person in the clan to learn Teizu Chengquan. Chen Qingyu did not participate. Although he was not of high seniority, his level was already the highest except for the clan leader. Participating at the late stage of blood coagulation realm would inevitably discourage the enthusiasm of the clan members. Of course, the most important thing is that he has understood it. Moreover, the family still has a lot to do and cannot spend all their time learning combat skills. Even teenagers like Chen Qinghe and Chen Qingmeng have to plant blood rice in the spiritual fields. However, the planting methods of the two are somewhat different. Upon closer inspection, it is not difficult to tell that the two planted according to the operation method of Teizu Chengquan. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yong felt a little happier as he listened to the excited shouts of many clan members. It seems that this yellow-level high-grade combat skill has been of great help to the family. It is a pity that he did not stay in the netherworld for a short time, otherwise he might be able to learn more combat skills from those living souls. But then some doubts arose in Ji Yang's mind. Since this combat skill can be understood by oneself, it means that this combat skill and the living soul really exist, so is there really a netherworld in this world? What is the netherworld for? There are many doubts in Ji Yang's mind, but unfortunately his current vision is not enough to know the reasons. Ji Yang ignored it and turned to look at the many gray fruits on his branches. Today is the 6th day for these fruits to grow. However, the appearance of the fruits is not much different from yesterday, but the color gradually changes from white to gray. It is estimated that one day, these ginkgo fruits will be completely ripe. After enduring it for several days, it was finally coming to an end. In the past few days, he had been unable to make ends meet with the vitality he gained from absorbing the moonlight every day. Ji Yang opened the panel and checked his current attributes. Name: Ji Yang. Race: Netherworld Locust Tree. Vitality: 16. Supernatural powers: Eye of Insight, Reversal of Elixir Movement, Blindness with 1 leaf, Soul Condensation, Armor Covering. Exercise: Lunar Eclipse, Gathering Yin. Combat Skill: Teizu Chengquan can be transferred once. Qi and Blood: 54 can be converted into Vitality. Spiritual Power: 11. Deduction Points: 0. Cannot be deduced. Status: You have been using the Yin gathering technique for a long time, and your race has changed, but this does not matter, you are still weak. The family has been busy hunting these days and has not yet offered sacrifices. Even if Ji Yang can absorb the moonlight, the consumption of these ginkgo fruits is even greater, resulting in Ji Yang only having 16 points of vitality left. However, when Ji Yang noticed his sudden change in race, he was shocked. How could he turn into a locust tree? When Ji Yang saw the status column, he realized that it was due to the technique. Although the new race sounds much better than before, Ji Yang still likes the green version of himself. Because it represents vigorous vitality. Ji Yang tried to stop the yin gathering technique. After stopping the exercise, Ji Yang's original black trunk gradually turned back to brown, and the leaves on the branches gradually turned from black to green. Isn't that okay? Ji Yang thought to himself. But then he realized something was wrong, because halfway through the changes, they suddenly stopped. Moreover, there was no obvious change in his vision. The sparse yin qi around him still existed, and this time he could absorb it even without using the yin gathering technique. Now Ji Yang's trunks and branches are twinned in 2 colors, half brown and half black. Not only the trunk, but also the locust leaves on the tree are the same, but half of them are dark green and the other half are black, making them look even more monstrous, with a hint of weirdness in them. Looking at his flashy self, Ji Yang was speechless and choked. But regardless of appearance, he must have become stronger now, because he felt that whether it was branches or underground roots, his strength was higher. And he can see the living soul and absorb yin qi without running the technique. That's it. Ji Yang no longer struggled, and then looked at the conditions required for his deduction. Considering that family sacrifices are quite difficult, Ji Yang is not in a hurry to convert his qi and blood, and his spiritual power is still left, but his deduction points have not increased at all. Only because in the past few days, everyone in the tribe was busy with other things and no one was practicing, this resulted in Ji Yang's deduction points not improving at all. Without enough deduction points, he cannot deduce, let alone multiple deductions. If this continues, how can he improve himself? After all, the Chen family is still very sparse today. If there were more people in the family, the situation would be better. It's a pity that he can't communicate with Chen Xingzhen. If it didn't work, Ji Yang decided to extend his roots and write and communicate with Chen Xingzhen. But in this way, the reputation of his family's sacred tree seems to be somewhat unsafe. In addition, Ji Yang felt that the root he had strengthened before seemed to be a little out of order. It took 0.5 of his vitality to strengthen before, but then his vitality increased, and the underground roots also grew. Perhaps it was because the newly grown roots had not been strengthened, which caused the control to not work well. This means that he has to strengthen it again. But now that the family is stable, he doesn't need it for the time being. He can strengthen it when needed. The night is getting darker and the bright moon is in the sky. But at the other end of the secret passage that no one knew about, a figure slowly moved the huge blue stone in front of it. This man is none other than Li Keiliang, the only late-stage blood coagulation realm warrior in the Li family. He is now in good condition after practicing for a day. After moving the huge blue stone away, he did not act in a hurry. Instead, he placed the flesh and blood of the ferocious beast that he had prepared near the entrance of the secret passage. The smell of blood will definitely attract vicious beasts. Moreover, he also put something special into the flesh and blood of these ferocious beasts, which was time that could make the ferocious beasts excited and violent. After being specially refined, this herb can attract all the ferocious beasts from hundreds of miles away. Although it is a bit exaggerated, the effect is extremely good. This was developed by the family's pharmacist. It belongs exclusively to his Li family and is usually used for hunting. There are two reasons why Li Keiliang did this. If he escapes after destroying the sacred tree, these ferocious beasts will become an obstacle to the Chen family's pursuit of him. If he fails unfortunately, the ferocious beasts attracted by these flesh and blood will also go deep along this secret passage, thus bringing certain trouble to the Chen family. After arranging everything, Li Keiliang did not act in a hurry. Instead, he looked into the distance and said to himself, "I think Yangcheng and the others have gone far away now." This is also the reason why he waited for a whole day. Even if he failed, it would not affect other tribesmen. There wasn't much time left for him, so it was time to take action. Li Keiliang's eyes showed a hint of determination, and he quickly walked towards the Chen family ancestral hall at the other end of the secret passage. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang was silently absorbing the moonlight, making up for the shortfall caused by the ginkgo trees. When he was bored, Ji Yang used the underground roots to sense the surrounding situation, and listened to the conversations among the patrolling tribesmen from time to time. Although it is still boring, this is Ji Yang's only fun now. Just as Ji Yang was listening intently to the conversation between the two tribesmen, he suddenly noticed an unusual vibration from a root. This vibration did not come from other places, but from the roots that extended to the bottom of the family's secret passage. This made Ji Yang doubtful. If he remembered correctly, the family's secret passage had been closed after the Li family was eliminated, and no one from the clan had entered it since. So where did this vibration come from? Could it be that the ferocious beast at the other end of the secret passage found the exit of the secret passage and came along the secret passage? No, Chen Qingyu would definitely not be so careless when he returned from hunting last time. Ji Yang moved most of his consciousness to the root and quickly saw clearly what was going on in the secret passage. In the dark entrance of the cave, a figure was cautiously approaching the ancestral hall. When the figure saw the fracture in front of him, his face was filled with joy. But when Ji Yang saw the visitor, his heart suddenly stopped. He remembered this person, the late-stage blood coagulation realm warrior from the Li family. Although he didn't know his name, this person was extremely troublesome during the battle that day. Now that this person has come through the secret passage, he must be up to no good. Ji Yang wanted to call on his tribe to respond to the enemy, but then he found that he couldn't do it. Although there are two clansmen patrolling outside the ancestral hall, they are only at the middle stage of body tempering. How can they be his match? Moreover, Ji Yang had reason to suspect that this person was here for him. As the crisis approached, Ji Yang's heart condensed, he no longer hesitated, and quickly began to strengthen his roots, while not forgetting to disperse the lunar eclipse technique. He didn't have much life force, and he wanted to use it to do other things, but he never thought of this accident. Just as Ji Yang was strengthening his roots, Li Keiliang had already moved the blue stone above his head and jumped out from the secret passage below. As a warrior in the late stage of the blood coagulation realm, he had just sensed it in the secret passage, and there was no trace of other warriors nearby. After leaving the secret passage, Li Keiliang looked around, his face even more overjoyed. This was the Chen family ancestral hall. Where is the sacred tree? Where is the sacred tree? Hearing the footsteps not far away, Li Kai felt anxious in his conscience and looked around, looking for the sacred tree of the Chen family. Soon, he saw the so-called sacred tree in the corner of the ancestral hall. This sacred tree is only 2 meters high, and its sparse branches and leaves make it even more unattractive. If he was not a blood coagulation realm warrior, it would not be easy to see it in the dark night. Is this the sacred tree? Although he had glimpsed it from a distance during the family war before, looking back again, he still had doubts in his heart. However, there are no other trees in this ancestral hall, so it is obviously not wrong. Li Keiliang showed his murderous intention, and at the same time he no longer hesitated, gathered his energy and blood in his hands, and flew towards the sacred tree not far away. He wants to destroy this sacred tree before the Chen family discovers him, and then leaves through the secret passage. The distance from the entrance of the secret passage to the tree is only a few meters away. With his strength, he can make it in time, and there is no one guarding the temple. It is simply a God-given opportunity. But when he was halfway through and could clearly see the lines on the tree trunk, the sacred tree in front of him suddenly lit up. This sudden abnormality shocked Li Kai's conscience and he couldn't help but look up. Under the dim night, the branches in front were flickering with fluorescence, and among the flickering branches and leaves, gray berries with clear facial features were swaying in the wind. The rustling sound was even more like the ferocious laughter coming from the mouths of these human-faced fruits when they looked at me. What on earth is this? Li Keiliang's eyes were slightly dazed when he saw the scene in front of him, and a great fear arose spontaneously, which even made him couldn't help but take half a step back. When he lost his mind, a sense of crisis suddenly erupted from his heart. Not good. With his keen intuition, Li Keiliang hurriedly got out of the way. And just as he dodged, a root as thick as a rope suddenly emerged from the ground, causing the bluestone slab underneath to break into several pieces. Li Keiliang felt a chill in his heart when he saw this. If he hadn't been able to avoid it in time, the root would have penetrated not the bluestone slab, but his body. Seeing that the blow missed, Ji Yang secretly thought it was a pity. Just now, he deliberately dispersed the lunar eclipse and strengthened the roots, hoping to make a sneak attack. But he still underestimated the intuition of the blood coagulation realm warrior, and even avoided the roots he was hiding. Ji Yang was not discouraged. This time he directly strengthened the 3 roots. He did not believe that Li Keiliang could avoid it. As the thoughts in Ji Yang's mind dissipated, 2 new roots exploded under the ground again, killing Li Keiliang. After the race change, the strength of Ji Yang's roots reached a higher level. Seeing 2 more roots, Li Kai's conscience froze, but the attack just now allowed him to successfully regain his clarity, and he also remembered the purpose of his visit this time. Especially after seeing these roots, Li Kai's conscience became even more murderous. If this allows the Chen family's sacred tree to grow, the family will have no chance of revenge in the future. Even if the 3 roots came to attack at the same time, they still couldn't make Li Keiliang retreat. Relying on his strong posture and pace, Li Keiliang avoided the strangulation of 2 roots one after another and headed towards Ji Yang's main trunk. His eyes are firm and decisive. Ji Yang was slightly shocked. Although his roots were strong, they were not as sensitive as those of late-stage blood coagulation realm warriors. But fortunately, he had already anticipated the situation before him. The 2 roots bypassed by Li Keiliang were not taken back by Ji Yang, but directly hit the ancestral hall door behind. Boom! The sound of the ancestral hall door collapsing echoed around. Not to mention the clansmen patrolling nearby, even the clansmen who were a little further away heard the huge noise at this moment. What happened? It's the sound coming from the ancestral hall. Go and have a look. ... The voices of many clan members rang out in the clan. After the sacred tree ceremony, the ancestral hall is the most important place in the family. It contains not only the ancestors' spiritual tablets, but also the current family sacred tree. There cannot be any mistakes. Li Keiliang gritted his teeth when he heard the noise outside. He still underestimated this sacred tree. He didn't expect it to be so smart. However, this did not stop him from destroying the tree in front of him, not to mention that there was only one route in front of him, which would never stop him. Facing the strangulation of the last route, Li Keiliang did not dodge this time, but rushed forward directly. Just when the roots were about to attack his body, Li Keiliang's quick eyesight and quick hands actually grasped the last root firmly in his hands. The huge power coming from his hands almost made Li Keiliang unable to grasp it, but as he mobilized all his energy and blood, he was still unable to break free from the roots in his hands. Without the last root to block him, Li Keiliang strode forward. At this moment, he was less than half a meter away from Ji Yang's trunk, which was already within reach. Just when he was about to use his feet instead of his hands to kick off the sacred tree that was not thick enough, a new root suddenly stretched out from under the sacred tree. This root came too suddenly and came too close. So when Li Keiliang reacted, the roots had already reached his face. At the speed of this root, if he continued to attack at this moment, he might be able to hit the tree trunk in front of him, but he would also be killed. Although the opportunity was good, he had to give up. The secret passage behind him was his hope of escape. Stop! Before Li Keiliang dodged his second attack, a loud shout came from behind his ears, followed by a powerful attack coming from behind him. Feeling the crisis behind him, Li Keiliang could only continue to dodge. When he dodged the attack and turned around to look, Chen Qingyu's figure appeared in the ancestral hall at some unknown time. It was this person who had just attacked. Other members of the Chen family came with Chen Qingyu. The faces of the family members changed slightly when they saw the chaos in the ancestral hall, but after realizing that it was an enemy attack, everyone quickly surrounded Li Keiliang. Li Kai's conscience was filled with despair when he was surrounded. Among his people were not only Chen Qingyu, a late-stage blood coagulation realm, but also two other blood coagulation realm warriors. Realizing that he might have missed the last chance to destroy the sacred tree just now, Li Kai felt regretful in his conscience. The passage that seemed to give him a chance to live, unexpectedly turned out to be the final factor that led to the failure of his plan this time. Li Keiliang looked up to the sky and roared, venting his dissatisfaction. Chen Xingzhen, who came in a hurry, looked solemn, but after seeing that the sacred tree was safe and sound, Chen Xingzhen finally let go of his worries. If something happens to the sacred tree this time, how will he explain to his dead ancestors and how he will give an explanation to his clan members? Surrender, Li Keiliang, you have no way out. Looking at Li Keiliang trapped in the center of the crowd, Chen Xingzhen issued a final announcement. Ah! The only response to Chen Xingzhen was Li Keiliang's disdainful sneer. Kill! Without further words, the tribesmen took action again. With Chen Qingyu, a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation realm, to help out, and the rest of the family, Li Keiliang didn't have the slightest chance. After just a few rounds, Li Keiliang was seriously injured and could not support himself. However, when he was about to die, Li Keiliang suddenly looked at Chen Qingyu and asked, "What kind of combat skill are you doing? Why haven't I seen you use it before?" Chen Qingyu did not answer, but used a Teizu Chengquan style to successfully send him away. Good. Chen Xingzhen looked excited when he saw this punch. Strictly speaking, if you want to learn combat skills, you must at least be in the blood coagulation state. The body of a warrior in the body quenching state has thin blood and qi, making it difficult to exert the power of combat skills. But this does not mean that people in the body tempering realm cannot learn it. Even if they cannot learn it, they can still familiarize themselves with the operation route of combat skills in advance and prepare for the future. But Chen Xingzhen didn't expect Chen Qingyu to learn it so quickly. Although Chen Qingyu has a relatively cold personality, she felt a little uncomfortable when she saw Chen Xingzhen's satisfied look. After all, he was able to learn it so quickly not because of himself, but because of the sacred tree. Chen Qingyu didn't explain. Anyway, he wasn't going to occupy the top 3 spots in the clan. Just misunderstand it. This seems to be Teizu's Chengquan. Brother Qingyu clan is really a genius. He actually learned it in one day. When the words of praise from the clansmen came to his ears, Chen Qingyu could only pretend that he didn't hear them. After dealing with Li Keiliang, Chen Xingzhen, who was not at ease, carefully checked the sacred tree again, and he was relieved when he saw that the sacred tree was indeed not damaged. Then Chen Xingzhen remembered the secret passage again, and immediately issued an order. Tianjing, you and Qingyu will take a few more clan members into the secret passage to check for any flaws. Also, check if there are other members of the Li family outside the secret passage. Although this secret passage is not considered a family secret now, it is still another passage for the family. It cannot be missed and needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. Looking at the destruction of the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen had a trace of regret in his eyes. He knew that the remaining members of the Li family had gone to the mass burial mountain, but he did not take any precautions. Although the chance of this happening is relatively small, he should have considered it at the beginning. After all, it was his own carelessness that almost caused the family sacred tree to be destroyed. Fortunately, the sacred tree is still there and has not been damaged. Although he wanted to pursue him, he thought that Li Yongcheng and others had already moved away and would not stay where they were and wait. However, there was still the innate level green wolf deep in the mass burial mountain, so Chen Xingzhen had no choice but to give up and told the others not to pursue him too deeply. After everything was tidied up, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree in front of him and sighed in his heart. The family power is still too weak. But when it comes to family development, it can't be said that it can be done quickly. All big families have been inherited for decades or even hundreds of years before they can reach a certain scale, let alone the current Chen family, which does not even have a Shantian realm warrior. Above, looking at the Chen family members cleaning up the mess, Ji Yang finally felt relieved. The situation just now was quite dangerous. Now that he has not fully grown up, if he is approached by a warrior in the blood coagulation realm, it is very likely that the tree will be destroyed and people will be killed. Moreover, Li Keiliang is still in the late stage of the blood coagulation realm. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he once again strengthened a root and was able to block the attack. Fortunately, Li Keiliang did not risk his life, otherwise the situation would still be different. The strengthening of the 4 roots just now used a total of 7.5 of Ji Yang's vitality, causing his life to fall below 10 points again. In order to maintain his senses and status, Ji Yang directly transformed all the energy and blood he had reserved before, so that his vitality could be filled again. But this also gave Ji Yang a new sense of crisis. This time it was an accident. However, the current strength of the Chen family cannot guarantee that there will be no accidents next time. He also needs to become stronger, and he also needs to make the Chen family stronger and have the ability to deal with risks. If it didn't work, he could only communicate with Chen Xingzhen through his roots. At least from his current perspective, the Chen family still has major flaws in the development of the family. If this continues, I don't know how long it will take for the family to develop. Originally, Ji Yang didn't want to get too involved in family affairs. After all, he just wanted to be a tree. While enjoying family sacrifices, it would be nice to contribute occasionally. If he had to do everything himself, then he might as well be the clan leader. Although he was a little anxious, he was not in a hurry. Ji Yang was ready to wait until the fruits on the tree matured. After Li Keiliang died, Ji Yang also saw a new soul appearing in the ancestral hall. This living soul is a replica of Li Keiliang, except that its face is dull and unconscious, and it is not much different from other living souls. It's just that the body is richer and in better condition than the many living souls that Ji Yang transformed in the spiritual position before. Looking at the living soul in front of him, Ji Yang's consciousness moved, and the living soul was quickly absorbed by Ji Yang. This is a new ability gained after Ji Yang's race changed. It eliminates the need for him to use roots as a medium between himself and his soul. Ji Yang used his magical power to condense the soul, trying to transform it. But then, a prompt suddenly popped up in front of Ji Yang. It has been bound to a family and cannot gather other souls except the Chen family. This reminder made Ji Yang stunned for a moment. There are still such limitations in feelings. How can he organize his own army of souls? He also expected to rely on this to make the Chen family stronger. It seems that this is not possible now. Seeing that Li Keiliang's living soul was useless, Ji Yang's branches swayed slightly, blowing out a breeze. When the breeze blew by, Li Keiliang's living soul instantly dissipated and turned into a dense cloud of yin energy, which was absorbed by Ji Yang's trunk. After absorbing the yin energy, the gray fruits on the tree seemed to be a little bigger. At this moment, Chen Xingzhen was still waiting for the return of his clan members in the ancestral hall. At the moment when Li Keiliang's soul disappeared, Chen Xingzhen also felt a cool breeze blowing past his face. This made Chen Xingzhen confused. After all, he was a late-stage warrior in the blood coagulation realm. How could he still feel such a chill? Chen Xingzhen turned his head and looked at the family sacred tree in front of him, and then noticed the change in the appearance of the sacred tree, but Chen Xingzhen's expression remained as usual. The sacred tree is ever-changing, and he is used to it. Half an hour later, Chen Qingyu and others returned from the secret passage. When returning, several people also carried several ferocious beasts in their hands. According to Chen Tianjing, the blue stone outside the secret passage has been removed, and there are a lot of traces left in the secret passage, but after leaving the secret passage, there are very few traces. And when a few people passed by, there were several ferocious beasts outside the secret passage. It's a pity that the realm of these ferocious beasts is not high, and the strongest one is only in the middle stage of blood coagulation realm. In addition, these ferocious beasts attack each other, but Chen Qingyu and others can easily kill them. After killing the ferocious beast, several people checked around and found no trace of the Li clan members. Finally, after cleaning up the secret passage, several people moved the blue stone back and reinforced it before leaving. After listening to Chen Tianjing's report, Chen Xingzhen carefully inspected the ferocious beasts returned from hunting. After smelling a special smell, Chen Xingzhen's vision became clear. This is something unique to the Li family. It seems that these ferocious beasts were attracted by Li Keiliang. Unfortunately, there is now a Shantian-level green wolf deep in the mass burial mountain. Even the ferocious beasts outside the secret passage are much less. Even this time cannot attract too much. What a ferocious beast, but this is what the family has gained. Okay, it's getting late, you go back and rest. As for these ferocious beasts, sacrifice them all to the sacred tree. Ji Yang's roots were also discovered by Chen Xingzhen before. This is an ability that the sacred tree has never shown before. It seems that the sacred tree has consumed a lot this time and is in urgent need of replenishment. Above, Ji Yang nodded silently after listening. You are sensible. This time, 3 ferocious beasts were sacrificed, 2 of which were in the early stage of blood coagulation realm and 1 in the middle stage of blood coagulation realm. If Li Keiliangquan knew better, his time not only did not cause damage to the Chen family, but instead allowed the Chen family to pick up several ferocious beasts for nothing, who knows if he would have died in peace. The 3 ferocious beasts in the blood coagulation realm increased Ji Yang's energy and blood to 33 points, but his spiritual power only increased by 4 points. Although he had enough energy, blood and spiritual power, Ji Yang could not start a new deduction without enough deduction points. And after tasting the sweetness last time, Ji Yang no longer looked down on single deduction. He had to at least increase the multiple a little, so that he would have a greater chance of obtaining magical powers and combat skills. As everyone left, the ancestral hall became silent again. However, in order to prevent this kind of thing from happening again, there were 2 more warriors patrolling at night, and they were also equipped with a blood coagulation realm warrior. After the last sacred tree sacrifice, 2 more blood coagulation realm warriors were added to the clan. Together with the clan leader Chen Xingzhen, there are now a total of 6 blood coagulation realm warriors in the clan. It can be considered that it has returned to the scale before the fight with the Li family. On the 7th day of the growth of the ginkgo, all the fruits on the tree have lost their previous white color and turned into gray. The facial features on the fruits have become more lifelike, as if their ancestors were still alive. But if a stranger sees this, he will feel extremely strange. Due to the orders issued by Chen Xingzhen in the past 2 days, not many tribesmen came to disturb the sacred tree. However, Chen Tianjing and several blood coagulation realm warriors took advantage of the free time in the evening to visit the ancestral hall twice to remember their ancestors. After all, among the gray fruits on the tree were not only Chen Qingyu's father, but also their elders. On the night of the 7th day, there were not many changes in the gray berries on the tree. At this time, Ji Yang was also paying full attention to these gray fruits after soul condensation, wanting to see what these gray fruits would look like when mature. However, what puzzled Ji Yang was that although he had already felt that these gray fruits were getting closer to maturity, he did not see the faces on these gray fruits open their eyes. Under Ji Yang's gaze, another half hour passed like this. Until the moon hung high and Ji Yang began to absorb the moonlight and yin energy, these gray fruits finally took on new changes. Under the illumination of the moonlight, these gray fruits hanging on the branches slowly began to shake. As the gray fruits shook, their eyes gradually opened. Ji Yang couldn't take his eyes off, carefully watching the changes in these gray fruits. This was the first time he saw such a magical scene. After a brief sway, a gray fruit located above the branch suddenly fell towards the ground. But just when the gray fruit was about to fall to the ground, a strong yin energy suddenly burst out from the gray fruit. As the gray fruit disappeared, a gray old man suddenly appeared in the ancestral hall, and his face was consistent with the face on the gray fruit before. Is this a living soul? Above, Ji Yang looked at these ripe gray fruits with doubts in his eyes. If he still has a living soul, what's the point of condensing his soul? However, when Ji Yang observed carefully, he discovered differences in this living soul. First of all, the untransformed living soul was in tatters and the whole body was gray-white. Now the living soul has a solid body and the whole body is gray. Secondly, he seemed to sense something different from other souls in this fallen soul, but he couldn't remember it for a while. When Ji Yang was thinking carefully, other gray fruits on the branches could no longer hold back and fell to the ground like raindrops. Before each gray fruit falls to the ground, it has turned into a new figure and appeared in the ancestral hall. In just a few seconds, the ancestral hall was already filled with countless gray figures, but these figures could not be seen by others at this moment. Ji Yang, who had been observing these living souls, soon brightened up and knew what was different. Wisdom. These living souls were different from other living souls in their sluggishness. They seemed more agile, and Ji Yang even saw thinking in their eyes. Could it be? After a short pause after landing, the old man who landed first suddenly put his hand on his forehead, with a trace of thinking in his eyebrows, and he couldn't help but utter the three major philosophical questions of life. Who I am, where am I, what am I going to do? The other living souls were also frowning and thinking hard, searching for the memories that had long been dusted in their minds. After a brief period of contemplation, a bright light suddenly burst out from the eyes of the old man's living soul. He remembered. His name is Chen Changming, the 11th generation patriarch of the Chen family. But looking at the unfamiliar environment around him, Chen Changming once again had a doubt in his mind. If he remembered correctly, he fought with the enemy when he moved his family for the last time, and then died. Why is he alive again now? Soon, Chen Changming also noticed his current changes, as well as the strange figures around him. At this moment, other living souls also expressed confusion. Ah, who am I? I remember that I died too, in a battle with a vicious beast. I seem to have died too, on the way to my family's migration. Why can't I touch things? What's wrong with me? What happened? Doubtful sounds echoed through the ancestral hall, but the tribesmen outside did not notice it at all. Only Ji Yang, who was above, could hear the doubtful sounds. At this moment, Ji Yang also knew the role of his own soul condensation. This magical power seemed to be able to re-solidify the souls of those who had passed away and restore their memories of their lives. It's a pity that it is bound to a family, so only people from the Chen family can enjoy it. But even after solidifying, they still can't touch other things, or even be seen. What can such a living soul be used for? Ji Yang ignored the many living souls below, but thought about the role these living souls could bring after their recovery. Xingba, are you Xingba? Chen Changming looked at a very familiar soul not far away. His expression suddenly became excited, and he couldn't help but move closer to the soul. As he approached, Chen Changming noticed a few familiar souls. You are my son Xinghe. Build. Hearing Chen Changming's cry, the memories in the minds of the other three living souls gradually became clear. When the three of them saw Chen Changming, they looked very excited and shouted, Father! When the three people approaching saw their faces, their expressions became even more excited. Brother, second brother, third brother, brother. Cousin, is that you? Dad, it's so good to see you. Uncle San, are you dead too? Nephew, it turns out you are here too. Many members of the Chen family who had recovered their memories started communicating with each other excitedly after seeing familiar faces all around them. They either expressed their thoughts in their hearts, or expressed words they had never said before, or expressed the joy of not seeing each other for a long time. For a time, the entire ancestral hall was in chaos. Above, Ji Yong looked at the scene in front of him and pretended not to hear. These complicated family relationships gave him a headache, so he asked them to sort it out on their own, and it wouldn't be too late to wait until they regained consciousness. These Chen family members who have come back to life are not living beings, but transformed living souls. He should be able to communicate with everyone, which would be a lot more convenient. As time passed and many living souls continued to communicate below, everyone soon woke up from the confusion just now. Especially after seeing the family spiritual tablets in the ancestral hall room, everyone was even more amazed. It turns out they are really dead. Half an hour later, the voices in the crowd gradually became fainter. At this time, everyone began to think about what they should do now. At this time, Chen Chengming also noticed the fluorescent sacred tree beside him. The moment he saw the sacred tree, the memory of these 7 days slowly awakened in his mind. In his memory, he saw his state as a fruit, the worship of the tribe below, and even the current situation of the family. Chen Chengming, who understood all this, immediately floated into the sky above the ancestral hall, raised his arms and shouted, "Fellow tribesmen, please be quiet for now." Many tribesmen who recovered their memories also recognized the former family patriarch, but several of them did not know Chen Chengming, including the 3 tribesmen who died in the struggle with the Li family not long ago. But from the conversations between other family elders, the 3 of them had a pretty good understanding of everyone's identities. The Chen Chengming in front of him seems to be the patriarch and his father. That is, their ancestor. Everyone, now we have come back from the dead and reunited in the family ancestral hall. This is not an accident, but the guidance given by the sacred tree to my Chen family. Having said that, everyone also focused their attention on Ji Yong. The sacred tree was the totem of the family in the past. Several people present were even older than Chen Xingzhen, the current patriarch, and had seen the glory of the sacred tree in the past. Although the sacred tree is now damaged, it is not as good as 1% of the family's sacred tree back then. But knowing that it was the power of the sacred tree that brought them back to the world, everyone present looked in awe and bowed earnestly. Above, Ji Yong, who saw Chen Chengming's actions, nodded slightly in his heart. As expected of the patriarch of the past, he was able to grasp the key points in the current situation. After the people of the lower tribe finished worshipping, Chen Chengming spoke again. "Are there any clan members here who have died in the past 10 years? After the words fell, several people stood up from the crowd, including the 3 people who had died not long ago. From the oral accounts of these people, the situation of the family in recent decades has also become clear to everyone. After hearing this, many people sighed in their hearts. It turned out that so many things happened to their family after their death. After hearing about the recent struggle with the Li family, everyone present became even more nervous. However, after hearing that the sacred tree showed its power and rescued the family, everyone was even more grateful and knelt down to worship. Although they are dead, there are still their descendants in the family, and these descendants have the blood and inheritance of the family flowing in them. After grasping the situation, Chen Chengming continued. Everyone has heard about the current situation of the family. Now that the family has declined and the sacred tree has been born, the family still needs our help. Even if we die, our consciousness still exists. We can still make our family prosper. We can't do it, but our descendants can. It is our duty to restore the glory of our family." Many tribesmen below also had excited faces after hearing this. The dead people come back again, watching the family prosper step by step, watching the family's descendants grow every step of the way. How can they refuse? "Chief, I want to see my son first." In the crowd, a figure suddenly stood up and begged. "You or Tianshan, go ahead." Chen Chengming said with a gentle face. Although he had died a long time ago, he remembered the younger generation of the family very clearly. Tianshan was a child who was very talented when he was young. Unfortunately, he died young and sacrificed himself for the sake of his family. Fortunately, I am alive now, even though I am only half alive. After receiving Chen Chengming's consent, Chen Tianshan's figure quickly drifted towards the outside of the ancestral hall. Although he was still a little unaccustomed to this way of walking, it felt good. He could walk much faster than before and could penetrate walls. Others also thought of the younger generations of the clan at this moment, and asked one after another to go and take a look. Chen Chengming did not stop him. He understood the thoughts of these clan members. In fact, even he wanted to see his fourth son, the current clan leader, Chen Xingzhen. Soon, all the clan members dispersed from the ancestral hall, leaving him alone in the ancestral hall. Although Chen Chengming also wanted to take a look, he did not leave in a hurry. Instead, he looked at the sacred tree and then worshipped respectfully. Today I am able to meet my family relatives again, Chen Chengming, the 11th generation patriarch of the Chen family, and I would like to pay my respects to the sacred tree. Ji Yong did not answer, but a wisp of the yin qi that had just been absorbed on the tree trunk dispersed and floated into Chen Chengming's body. Chen Chengming's eyes lit up as this ray of yin energy entered his body, and he felt that his body seemed to become more solid. This made Chen Chengming feel a little more in awe. Although the family sacred tree looks far less than it did back then, and can even be said to be extremely weak, the power of the sacred tree now seems to be even better than the family sacred tree of the past. At least, the sacred tree back then could not do this. Chen Chengming, who received the response from the sacred tree, felt a little more excited. The response from the sacred tree meant that his idea just now was not wrong. The sacred tree resurrected them to make the family stronger. After Chen Chengming thanked him again, he turned and left the ancestral hall. He wanted to see the current situation of the family and also wanted to see Chen Xingzhen. After he left, the ancestral hall became quiet again. Looking at the current situation, Ji Yong was thoughtful, but did not intervene. Since these retransformed souls have memories and intelligence, it may be better than him doing it himself. I have never heard that having an old man in the family is like having a treasure. Besides, they are all tribesmen who have died once, so they should have more experience in developing their families. It's just that he doesn't know how to let them communicate. He doesn't seem to have acquired magical powers in this area yet, which makes Ji Yang a little distressed. But then, when Ji Yang's roots buried underground sensed the situation not far away, he was shocked. I saw a living soul who had just left the ancestral hall. After seeing his sleeping junior, he actually threw himself into his body in the state of a living soul. Ji Yang wanted to stop him, but then he heard a murmur from the sleeping clansman. "Dad, why are you here? Did I dream about you?" Looking at this scene, Ji Yang fell into deep thought. He didn't expect that the transformed soul would still have this ability. It seems that he doesn't need to take action anymore. After one living soul discovered this ability, other living souls also quickly discovered this and entered the dream world of their descendants. This night, the Chen family was destined to be unrest. Countless sleeping tribesmen murmured in their sleep. In the clan leader's bedroom, other clan members have already rested, but as the clan leader, Chen Xingzhen is still thinking about the future development direction of the clan and what the clan members need for winter. When it comes to the family, he can't be careless in the slightest. It was getting late, and Chen Xingzhen couldn't hide the look of exhaustion on his face after a busy day. Although the blood coagulation realm warrior has sufficient qi and blood in his body, he is old after all, and the gradually weakening qi and blood in his body makes it impossible for him to return to the state of his youth. Chen Xingzhen stopped thinking and lay down to rest. In his sleep, a figure loomed in front of him, which made Chen Xingzhen frown slightly in his sleep. But after clearing the fog and seeing the figure's face clearly, Chen Xing was shocked and shouted, "Dad, is that you?" Looking at the familiar face in front of him, Chen Xingzhen, who was over 60 years old, looked very excited. This appearance is even clearer than the ginkgo on the sacred tree, just like what it looked like when my father was still alive. "Xingzhen, you have suffered a lot these years." Chen Chengming's face was soft, and he looked at the old man in front of him who was now about the same age as himself, with a hint of heartache in his eyes. But he can't be blamed for this. The family's migration back then was really difficult. Even as the clan leader, he couldn't stay out of it. But after all, a trace of family blood was preserved, which led to today's resurrection. "It's not bitter, Dad, how are you doing down there?" Chen Chengming was stunned for a moment when he heard this question. He had no memory of the time from his death back then to his awakening with the power of the sacred tree today, and he didn't know how he was living. However, in order to comfort Chen Xingzhen, Chen Chengming still smiled and replied, Dad is having a good time down there. That's good, that's good. After hearing this, Chen Xingzhen murmured softly and nodded repeatedly. As long as his father's life down there was not too bad, he could rest assured. By the way, your eldest brother and second brother will also come to see you later, so you can catch up on old times. Chen Xingzhen was stunned when he heard this. Brother, are they here too? Although there was expectation in his words, Chen Xingzhen's face was a little ugly. Today, his father and the others came to see him. Could it be that they came to take him with them this time? Although he is older, his lifespan is too short, right? Things in the clan haven't been settled yet, and the next clan leader hasn't been elected yet. Is he going to leave like this? Seeing the change in Chen Xingzhen's expression, Chen Chengming hurriedly patted his head. He didn't blame Chen Xingzhen for thinking, but he forgot to explain clearly. Feeling that his figure was getting weaker and weaker in the dream, Chen Chengming also hurriedly explained what happened today. Xingzhen, listen to me. That's what happened. Now the resurrection of the souls of the tribe depends entirely on the power of the sacred tree. But Qingyu, you can reach your current state and become the first person in the clan. As a father, I am really happy for you. After being praised by her father, Chen Qingyu also showed a hint of pride in her eyes, as if she had returned to the original days. However, after hearing that the souls of the dead tribesmen were resurrected, Chen Qingyu still had a trace of confusion in his eyes, even if Chen Tianxian told him personally. Just when Chen Qingyu wanted to ask about other things, the figure in front of her suddenly disappeared. Tianjing, tell me quickly, which room does my grandson live in? As a father, I have to go and see for myself. In his dream, Chen Xinghe asked excitedly after hearing the news. After all, when he died, Chen Tianjing was not yet married and naturally had no children. This became his regret when he died. Unexpectedly, he was able to get married today but regretted it in his heart. This made him so excited. After getting the answer, Chen Xinghe decisively exited the dreamland. After moving around several rooms, he finally saw Chen Qinghe in his sleep. Looking at this young man who looked somewhat similar to himself in his sleep, Chen Xinghe looked pleased. Chen Qinghe, good name. He looks handsome too. Overjoyed, Chen Xinghe no longer hesitated and directly entered his dream with his soul. In the dream world, the two figures gradually appeared in a void. Chen Xinghe looked at the strange yet familiar young man in front of him and immediately called softly. Child, I am your grandpa. Chen Xinghe in the dream had a look of confusion and curiosity at first, but after hearing this, a trace of anger appeared on Chen Xinghe's slightly immature face, and he sneered. I'm still your dad. After saying that, Chen Xinghe swung his fist, directly shattering the figure in front of him, and fell into a deep sleep again. Chen Xinghe, who was kicked out, looked confused at this moment. Why was this situation different from what he imagined? How does Tianjing teach children? He must go and talk tomorrow night. As for today, he felt that he could no longer enter the dreamland. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang silently sensed the situation in the clan and soon discovered this. Although these dead tribesmen can fall into dreams, there seem to be many restrictions. For example, the time to fall asleep will not last too long, and if they encounter resistance from the sleeping people, they will quickly escape from the dream. And every time after falling into a dream, the yin energy of these dead tribesmen will also be reduced. Among them, Chen Tianxian consumed the yin qi the fastest and stayed the shortest. It seems to be due to realm. The rich blood energy can also dissipate the yin energy. In this way, the attack power of these living souls will not be strong. No, it can be said that it has no offensive power. But Ji Yang then thought of another magical power of his, armor covering. I don't know if this magical power can allow living souls to come into contact with living warriors. If it can, there is a lot to be done. It's just that this armor also consumes one's own life force. He doesn't have much vitality now, and I'm afraid he won't be able to support it. Let's talk about it later. In addition, Ji Yang feels that the biggest role of these resurrected souls in the family today may not be for fighting, but to use the experience and knowledge in their minds to make the Chen family stronger. In the family, many living souls have already passively escaped from the dream, but when they wake up, they are still very curious about the current family. At this moment, they are wandering around in the family, like lingering ghosts. Fortunately, the clan members couldn't see it, otherwise there would be rumors of haunting in the family tomorrow. But with tonight's dream, tomorrow's family may not be stable. Time flies and the sky becomes brighter and brighter. Accompanied by the crow of the pheasant, the first ray of sunshine slowly rises in the morning. But as the sun shines, the souls still wandering among the clan feel a raging fire burning their bodies. The rich yin qi in the original body also dissipated quickly under the sunlight, which was far faster than when falling into a dream. The tribesmen who sensed something was wrong looked panicked. They had just woken up. Even in this state, they did not want to die quickly. Sacred tree. Go back to the ancestral hall quickly. A silent shout resounded through the family. It was Chen Chengming who realized something was wrong and reacted. For a time, all the souls wandering outside quickly drifted into the ancestral hall. When everyone arrived at the ancestral hall, the yin qi that was still rapidly dissipating just now gradually slowed down. It wasn't until all the tribesmen hid under the shade of the trees that the yin qi that had originally dissipated completely stopped. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yong felt the yin energy disappearing from everyone. It seemed that these dead tribesmen could not appear in the daytime. But the shade he has now is not enough to cover all the people from the sun. When the sun rises, where will these living souls go? While Ji Yong was thinking, many tribesmen were getting closer and closer, even crowding around Ji Yang's tree trunk. At this time, a tribesman figure was suddenly squeezed towards the tree trunk, and then disappeared. The other tribesmen were surprised when they saw this, but they didn't care too much and flew towards the tree trunk one after another. Can the sacred tree still harm them? Ji Yong looked puzzled as he looked at the living souls pouring into the tree trunks one by one. However, when Ji Yong checked his consciousness carefully, he discovered that at some point, most of the absorbed souls had gathered in his trunk. The yin energy comes. These yin energy merged into his torso, creating a space that was like the original netherworld. It was gray inside, but the space was quite large, just enough to accommodate these dead family members. It seems that this is also a new ability that he gained after his race changed, and it also saved him a lot of effort, otherwise he would really not know where to hide these souls. As the sun rises, the family gradually regains its vitality, and the clan members begin to get busy again. However, many tribesmen looked hesitant. After recalling what happened last night, many tribesmen had a trace of doubt on their faces. The face was so real that they couldn't tell whether it was a dream or something real. Qinghe, my grandpa seemed to have come to see me last night. Chen Qingmeng held the hoe on his shoulder and said to Chen Qinghe beside him. Dreams are all fake. Tomorrow your grandpa will come again. Just give him a couple of punches and he'll be fine. Chen Qinghe said nonchalantly. Chen Qingmeng was thoughtful after hearing this, and then nodded. Good. In the room, Chen Xingzhen frowned. What happened in his dream last night made him feel a little ridiculous, but the faces of his father and elder brother appeared clearly in his mind. He remembered that the dream dissipated just as his father was about to say something. This made it difficult for him to tell whether what happened last night was caused by his longing for the ginkgo fruit on the sacred tree a few days ago. After a while, Chen Xingzhen no longer struggled with yes or no, he could just ask the sacred tree. Soon, Chen Xingzhen arrived at the ancestral hall. And when he opened the door of the ancestral hall and saw the sacred tree, the look in his eyes became more complicated. Because the many white fruits that were still hanging on the sacred tree yesterday have all disappeared. But the sacred tree still maintains its previous appearance. This surprised and delighted Chen Xingzhen. Could it be that what happened last night was not a dream? Brother, did you dream of anything last night? Yes, I dreamed about my father. He told me to practice martial arts well and reach the blood coagulation realm as soon as possible. The chatter of the tribesmen outside made Chen Xingzhen even more certain that what happened in his dream last night was not fake. If that was the case, he would have to make some preparations tonight. Ben was still worried that he could not make the family stronger by himself, but with the help of his father and several brothers, he felt that the future of the family would be bright. However, this matter is of great importance, and the news must be sealed and not allowed to be known to outsiders. Among the tree trunks, Chen Chengming also warned the tribesmen. Although the resurrection of the dead is just a soul, if word spreads, the family will definitely suffer a catastrophe. The current family sacred tree cannot be saved by the current Chen family. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yong sensed the situation in the tree trunk and nodded in affirmation. However, he could feel that these souls that he had transformed were actually within his control. When necessary, Ji Yong can even forcefully control it. But this is not in Ji Yang's plan. He just wants to be a tree now. Family matters should be left to the two patriarchs. It's night soon. As soon as night fell, Chen Xingzhen went to rest, as did the rest of the clan. The dream last night and the conversation with the tribe today made them realize that something was wrong, so they wanted to confirm it tonight. Father. In the dream, Chen Xingzhen saw Chen Changming again, looking slightly excited. However, this time Chen Changming's mood was not much stable and he said directly, Xingzhen, we don't have much time, I can't stay too long. This time the sacred tree resurrected the clan members to strengthen the family. Although the family is now stable, there are still many shortcomings. Chen Xingzhen looked guilty when he heard this. He had been the clan leader for so many years, but he still failed to make the clan prosperous and was even almost exterminated. This was all his own fault. Seeing this, Chen Changming comforted him and said, I don't blame you for this, I just blame me for dying too early and not being able to teach you much. I said, remember. Good. Chen Xingzhen nodded. After half a stick of incense, Chen Xingzhen looked at Chen Changming's fading figure and nodded again. I've written it down. Chen Changming smiled and nodded. These suggestions about the family were also discussed between me, your eldest brother, and several other clan members. However, the reality of the family is unpredictable now. Some of the suggestions may not be accurate. You can listen, but not all. Remember, you are the patriarch of the family now. Dad, I know. When the words fell, Chen Changming's figure disappeared again, and this time Chen Xingzhen was no longer hesitant, but his eyes were extremely bright. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yong was also seriously thinking about the decisions made by Chen Changming and others during the day, and nodded again in his heart. As expected of the previous clan leader, his views on developing the clan far surpassed Chen Xingzhen's. If the current Chen family wants to develop rapidly, it is indeed necessary to make many prepared decisions. These few decisions are indeed suitable for today's Chen family, and he can also benefit from them. Under the night, Jiang's branches exude a faint fluorescence. Without the consumption of ginkgo, he can now get 2.4 vitality every night. If there is enough time, it may not take long for him to become stronger. Not long after, the souls who left the ancestral hall returned to the ancestral hall. When they saw the fluorescent sacred tree, they were unconsciously attracted to Ji Yang. Then they sat cross-legged on the ground one by one, closed their eyes and absorbed the yin energy emanating from the trunk of Ji Yang. With every ray of yin qi absorbed, their bodies became more solid. Chen Changming, who had returned, saw a hint of excitement in his eyes. He had long discovered that although they were resurrected now, they would consume a certain amount of yin energy every day. If they could not replenish it, their lifespan might not be long. But now it seems that there is no need to worry about this issue. If they can become stronger in their current state, will they be able to fight in person in the future of the family? Chen Changming was excited. With the sacred tree here, his family would definitely be able to prosper, perhaps even surpassing the heyday of the family. On the second day, the Chen family warriors gathered in the ancestral hall again to hold a family meeting. Nowadays, the Chen family members are smiling, and there is a hint of confidence in their eyes. This is a scene that they have never seen before when they were fighting with the Li family. Chen Xingzhen stood at the top, looking at the radiant and energetic tribesmen below, with a smile on his face. The family is thriving and everything is moving in a good direction, and he is very pleased. But this is not enough, the family needs to become stronger. This is also the reason for holding a family meeting today. Below, many tribesmen were talking quietly, with a hint of surprise in their eyes. Just because the elders in the family fell asleep again last night. One time may be a coincidence, but the other 2 times are inevitable. And today's family meeting made the clan members have some expectations in their eyes. Qinghe, my grandfather came to see me again last night and taught me a lot. Among the crowd, Chen Qingmeng said happily. Chen Qinghe on the side was not in a very high mood, just because his father punished him again yesterday and told him that his grandfather would come to see him in the evening and asked him to be more obedient. Although the old man in the dream looked familiar, he still couldn't sleep well because he was too enthusiastic. Above, seeing that all the clan members had arrived, Chen Xingzhen raised his hand slightly to signal everyone to be quiet. When all the tribesmen's eyes were focused on Chen Xingzhen said, "I believe that many tribesmen have felt this in the past 2 days. I can tell you clearly that what happened in the dream was not fake. Some of the ancestors of my Chen family did come back to life with the help of the sacred tree." As soon as this statement came out, there was a wave of excitement in the crowd. Although they had already guessed in their minds, now that these words came from the clan leader in person, they couldn't be more excited. The resurrection of dead ancestors is really bizarre. Among the shocked clansmen, there were also several clansmen whose faces remained unchanged. Among them were several blood coagulation realm warriors from Chen Qingyu's family, and they had already known about this matter. After the voices in the crowd quieted down, Chen Xingzhen said with a solemn expression, "This matter is related to the survival of the family. I hope that all clan members present can keep it a secret and not tell anyone else except themselves. In order to keep the secret, everyone present must make an oath to the sacred tree. They must not break it, otherwise they will be punished by the sacred tree." After hearing this, many tribesmen began to swear to the sacred tree that they would never reveal this matter. Chen Xingzhen was relieved when he saw this. In fact, he also hesitated whether to tell the clan members about this. But after some consideration, he still chose to say it. After all, even if he didn't say it, the tribe would definitely be suspicious if they met their ancestors in dreams for a long time. Moreover, the people present now are all the core strength of the family. They share the hardships with the family and will definitely be the pillars of the family in the future. Members of the family need to be united in order to make the family stronger. In addition to the clan members outside, my father's side will also take corresponding measures. Now I swear by the sacred tree that the news will not be leaked out, it will only be spread among the clan. Moreover, this matter is too mysterious. Even if it is spread, others may not believe it. He heard from his father that even in the heyday of the family, he had never encountered such a situation. It is precisely because of this that we must be more careful, otherwise once it is leaked, the family will suffer a devastating blow, unless the family is already strong enough. After announcing this, Chen Xingzhen spoke again. Considering the development of the family, I have decided as follows after discussing with several blood coagulation realm warriors in the family. 1. Any clan member who is promoted to the blood coagulation realm can become a clan elder and enjoy special treatment. Under the clan elder, there are positions of deacons and elite clan members in the clan. If they perform outstandingly, they can be blessed by the sacred tree. 2nd, considering the lack of manpower in the family, we decided to recruit domestic slaves from outside. Family warriors only need to concentrate on practicing martial arts, improve their realm, and make monthly assessments. 3. Anyone in the family who is over 16 years old must get married. After several decisions were made, many clan members looked excited. Whether it is the special treatment from the clan elders or the blessing of the sacred tree, this is extremely attractive to them. Even Chen Qinghe looked happy when he heard that there was no need to plant blood rice, but when he heard the third item, his face was stunned. If he remembers correctly, he is already 14 this year, right? Doesn't that mean that he only has 2 years left? As the clan members left, the family meeting soon ended. Several blood coagulation realm warriors in the clan had already arranged their respective errands before the clan meeting. In the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree again and prayed sincerely. After seeing these decisions, he also had some worries in his heart, such as whether these new decisions would be too abrupt. There are not many warriors in the clan now, and there are only a few warriors in the blood coagulation realm. But after hearing his father's explanation, Chen Xingzhen no longer struggled. The family has family laws, and the clan has clan rules. No rules, no standards. Only better treatment can give the clan members the motivation to improve their realm. As for the position of clan elder, when the clan becomes stronger, there will naturally be higher requirements. According to what his father said, the family is currently weak, but the core of a strong family is the warrior. Nowadays, there are too few warriors in the family, and even planting blood rice requires warriors from the clan to do it themselves, which greatly delays the time for the clan members to practice martial arts. You must know that the younger you are, the more suitable it is for body tempering. If you are too old, it will be more difficult. In the past few days, because they were too busy, no clan members even learned the combat skill of Tezu Chengquan. In addition, the family population is very sparse now. There are only a dozen or so young men like Chen Qinghe in the family, and among them there are those with weak bones who may never reach the blood coagulation realm. And because the family often fought with the Li family in the past, the new population has also been greatly slowed down. If things go on like this, it will be difficult for the family to develop. Sufficient population is the key to developing a family. Even the Chen family, which was once prosperous in the past, has never fallen behind in this aspect. Logically speaking, the current family's economy is not enough to recruit domestic slaves. After all, in this cold winter, the family has not even prepared food for its own family members. However, after annexing the Li family's hunting range in Mass Burial Mountain, the family will definitely be able to obtain better harvests from hunting. The focus after the family has to be on family hunting. Compared to the many small villages next to the Mass Burial Mountain, the several blood coagulation realm warriors in the clan are the family's current confidence. After this year, the situation will be much better next year. By then, with the family's fertile farmland, there will be no need to worry about food problems, and the production of blood rice will also increase a lot. Unfortunately, there is also a Shantian-level green wolf in the Mass Burial Mountain, and there is also a Lu family next to it. If the entire Mass Burial Mountain can be taken down, the family's strength will increase a lot. But it's too early to think about this now. Lu family. This family is like a sleeping tiger that may reveal its sharp fangs at some point. At present, family development requires stability. In a small market at the foot of Mass Burial Mountain, many people dressed in coarse linen or animal skins were shouting hard at the things on their stalls. They are all villagers from small villages around Mass Burial Mountain. They come here every once in a while to sell their excess belongings in exchange for other needed things. For sale there are various beast skins, dried meat and some homemade iron weapons. It's just that these weapons are not exquisite and can only perform some basic functions. Moreover, in the market here, no money is accepted, only things can be exchanged. The market here gathers a total of more than 10 small villages nearby. It has always been under the jurisdiction of the Chen family before. If you want to sell here, you must pay 1/10 of the value of the items sold to the Chen family. Although it's not much, it adds up to a considerable amount of wealth. Even though many people are dissatisfied, considering safety and convenience, many villagers can only swallow their anger. Not to mention that the current Chen family has been in the limelight for a while after wiping out the Li family, and there are several blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, so they don't dare to complain. However, the struggle between the two families in Mass Burial Mountain has now become a gossip among many villagers. I thought that the market here would change its owner, but I didn't expect that the Chen family would win in the end. Many people setting up stalls sighed, and they were inevitably curious about the process, but this was too far away from them, so they should think about how to spend this winter. Hey, have you heard? The Chen family is recruiting domestic slaves recently. A street vendor said suddenly, which caused a stir in the crowd, and everyone asked whether it was true or false. Of course it's true. After hearing this, a group of vendors wanted to inquire more carefully. After all, they were just nearby villagers, and there was not a single warrior in the village. If a vicious beast accidentally entered the village would very likely be destroyed. Although the slave's status is low, the Chen family is now a big family in Burial Mountain. If he can become a slave of the Chen family, his life will be much easier. At this time, a strong vendor said disdainfully, HMPH, after becoming a domestic slave and being governed by others for the rest of your life, how can you be as free as you are now? I'm Tian Meng. You can hunt up the mountain and farm down the mountain. You have plenty of strength, so why do you need to be a slave? The Chen family is looking down on people. The other vendors nodded slightly after hearing this. Indeed, they had some abilities. Since they could live a comfortable life, why would they become domestic slaves? They were simply inferior to others. But some vendors looked envious at the many dried meats on the stall in front of Na Tian Meng. This man was born with great strength, and he learned hunting skills from an old hunter in the village. Now he is also a well-known figure in the nearby villages. I heard that the last time he went into the mountains, he escaped from the mouth of a body-tempering beast. With such strength, he is naturally disdainful of his status as a domestic slave. On the other hand, they are weak, can only maintain basic food and clothing, and have no great abilities. The Chen family slaves may not be a good place to go. I also heard that the conditions given by the Chen family for recruiting domestic slaves this time are excellent. It is said that as a domestic slave, you can receive 2 kilograms of blood rice and 1 kilogram of fresh ferocious beast meat every month. If you make a great contribution to the family, you can also teach the slaves how to temper their bodies. After hearing these benefits, the eyes of everyone who had been complaining suddenly lit up. Blood rice is precious. Even if you are not a warrior, eating it can strengthen your physique. However, there are not many fertile fields that can grow blood rice near the mass burial mountain, and there are even fewer small villages like theirs. Besides the blood rice, there was actually fresh ferocious beast meat. Let's not mention these 2 points for the moment, but the final body tempering method has made many people excited. Although they are villagers, they also yearn for martial artists. Unfortunately, not all of them are qualified to practice martial arts. Firstly, there is no way to temper the body, so it is impossible to get started. Secondly, the consumption of warriors is quite high, which they cannot afford. If he can really become a warrior, then becoming a house slave doesn't seem to matter. While everyone was still thinking about the pros and cons, Tian Meng on the side had already stood up and packed up the items for sale one by one. The street vendor who knew him had a look of surprise in his eyes when he saw this, and asked, "Tian Meng, don't you want to set up a stall?" "Set up a stall? I, Tian Meng, can hunt up the mountain and farm down the mountain. I have a lot of strength. I, Tian Meng, will be the leader of this family. No one can compete with me." After saying that, Tian Meng packed up his things, stood up and left. But everyone else who heard this was stunned. But then everyone hurriedly reacted, closing their stalls and leaving. Even people like Tian Meng are moved by it, so why are they still hesitating? This opportunity must not be missed. What's more, becoming a domestic slave is not an easy task. I heard that the Chen family has corresponding assessments. As the news spread, many villages around the burial mountain soon became aware of it. The next day, Chen Tianjing led several clan members towards the outside of the family. Not far from the Chen family, an open space has been cleared, which was prepared for the recruitment of domestic slaves this time. And he is responsible for the recruitment of domestic slaves this time. Although he already knew about it before Chen Xingzhen promulgated it, Chen Tianjing sighed in his heart and felt worried about the future of his family when he thought that there was not much food in the clan and that there were many clan members in the clan. And when he walked out of the family, the oncoming flow of people made Chen Tianjing's eyes dull for a moment. There were more than 100 people in the dark area in front of me. It is even similar to the number of Chen family today. However, unlike the people in the family, most of the people in front of them were in ragged clothes, with sallow complexions and thin muscles, and looked malnourished. But he has seen this kind of situation too many times and doesn't take it seriously. Without a family as a harbor, it is not easy to survive in this mass burial mountain by one person, not to mention that there are no warriors present. Facing the direct gazes of these many people, Chen Tianjing slowly walked towards the heights. Several family warriors on the side also raised their chests and raised their heads. The sense of family honor instantly rose to its peak. I believe that everyone here is here for the Chen family's recruitment of domestic slaves. I believe that everyone already understands the specific situation, but I will reiterate it again. After Chen Tianjing finished describing the treatment of domestic slaves, many people looked excited. This time it is not a rumor, but someone from the Chen family personally said it, which is extremely credible. But then Chen Tianjing's words poured cold water on everyone. This time, our Chen family is only recruiting 20 domestic slaves. Anyone who does not meet the standard will leave on their own. I hope you can abide by the rules. What? We only recruit 20 people? This is too few. That is. In the crowd, some people expressed dissatisfaction. Chen Tianjing snorted coldly, and the momentum of a blood coagulation realm warrior radiated out, and as Chen Tianjing punched to the side, a stone as big as a millstone instantly fell apart. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.